Good evening, friends. My name is Satish Goyal, and I'm your host for the day. I welcome Sahil Chotalia ji, Vikas Gupta ji, and all the members who have joined and are going to join in a short while. Before we start anything, let's have our CA Moto song played first.
सुप्तेषु जागृति कामं 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 कामंशो पुरुषो निर्विमानः निर्विमानः तदेव शुक्लं तद्ब्रह्मा तदेवामृतमुच्यते तस्मिन् लोकः शितः सर्वे तदुनाथिर्कश्चन
Thank you. So friends, let me introduce our guest today, Sahil Chotalia. He is the founder of Mount Bliss Capital. Mount Bliss is a SEBI registered investment advisory firm founded in the year 2020. The firm's entire focus is to create long-term wealth for its clients by investing only in high-quality companies that are run by impeccable management teams. He manages the firm and is responsible for all its investment decisions. Before he started this firm, he worked as research analyst and then a fund manager at M3 Investments Private Limited, a private family office with more than 1,200 crore in equity assets. He has previously had a short stint with industry giant Deloitte India. He's a commerce graduate from Narsi Monji College, Mumbai, and of course is a chartered accountant. He's an avid founder of Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger, and he closely follows principles of these two personalities on investing and capital allocation. And his passion is cooking, watching sports and cartoons, and ultimately when he's free, he always stay with his kids, Omar and Misha, and enjoy their company. So friends, we all are chartered accountants and we all invest maybe in time, maybe invest in money, not money, and real estate or shares and everything. But at times we take a wrong decision and ultimately do not, the investment do not get fruits which we are actually interested in. So when I spoke to Sahil, he said there are seven different lessons by which members can generate money, wealth, and he can, when invited, it can be a great help to all the members to create wealth. So he's here with us, and so welcome Sahil once again. Without wasting time, I'm requesting you to kindly start his deliberation and make all us wealthy.
Thank you so much, sir, for that introduction. Thank you, Vikasji, for actually having me. And sorry, Satishji, for having me. And Vikasji, thank you for joining. Thank you all the participants for joining. I hope I do justice to your time and we all learn something valuable from this session today.
And okay, so, I'm muting myself for two reasons. One, I'm to respond the members call which who they are not able to join right now. And also there is election music coming from outside to my office.
No right? issue, sir. We can
so
understand.
Please excuse me. Yeah.
No problems. We will let you know if we need you. Okay, so the main reason for us coming here today is whatever I have learned in the last decade in the investment industry, I wanted to share with the CA participants. So we are going to learn that by today's seminar, and the major focus of the seminar today is going to be about fundamental investing, which is basically introduced to the world by the greats of Benjamin Graham, who was the teacher of Warren Buffett. And Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger, both the guys, they started Berkshire Hathaway, and they have created enormous wealth for the people of America and the globe actually, and how they have done it. So I just want to make you all a little familiar with this concept so that you all start thinking in that direction. So the first lesson that I have learned is something called as CAGR, or compounded annual growth rate, right? Now, what is a compounded annual growth rate? It is the mean annual growth rate of an investment over a specified period of time longer than 1 year. So basically, if you have to take 2 dates, and if you want to calculate that over a period of time, how much did you earn in this period equally, right? Then you use the formula of compounded annual growth rate, and possibly this is the best formula to calculate your returns, right? And there is a very simple formula to calculate this. You take the ending value, you divide it by the beginning value raised to the 1 by the n, that is the number of years, minus 1. So basically, the only way it is different from an absolute return calculation is that absolute return calculation doesn't take into account the number of years, whereas CAGR takes number of years into account, right? So let me just give you an example of how it actually works, right? So say you purchased a property in January of 2017 for 1 crore, and the price of the property in December of 2021, that is exactly 5 years later, is 2 crores. What is your CAGR on this investment? Now, if you want to do a absolute return, then your absolute return is 100%, correct? But if you want to compare that 100% with a fixed deposit, right, there is no way you can compare. So to make it comparable with other investment options that we have, we will have to calculate the CAGR. And what we have to simply do is put these values. So the ending value, that is 2 divided by 1 raised to 1 by 5 minus 1. If you do, then you will get something like 14 or 15 odd percentage, correct? Now, sometimes what happens is that in our day-to-day lives, this calculation, because it is a raise to of a fraction, it becomes difficult to calculate. So what I suggest everybody to do is to have an app. So there are many apps that are available on the App Store and the Google Store, and one can just go and download this app, and you just enter these values here, and you can always see the CAGR. So whenever we are sitting anywhere, whenever we are analyzing returns, or somebody is boasting about their returns in absolute terms, so they can just ask them, अच्छा आपने कितने में लिया, कितने में बेचा, और कितने साल रखा, and you will actually know that in CAGR terms how much that person has made. So if you want to be a successful investor, first of all, we will have to correct our measurement guideline, right? So on what basis are we measuring our performance? And अगर हम CAGR terms में बात करना शुरू करेंगे, तो ही हम successful investors बन पाएंगे. And I see in most retail investors, this is missing. So this is the first thing you need to learn and kind of understand. अब इसको थोड़ा और complicate करते हैं. Let's say in the above example, if we add multiple cash flows, because obviously any investment will have some kind of a cash flow associated to that, right? So in the previous example, say you purchased it in Jan of 17, and you purchased it for say 1 crore, okay, which is a negative one. We put as a negative amount, and then you're getting say lease rentals on this of 6 lakh rupees, which you are getting paid on the very first day itself. Correct, 6 lakhs, and then you did some repairs and maintenance of minus 5 lakhs, so on and so forth, and the closing value is 2 crores. Now, if I tell you to calculate the, excuse me, there is some traffic noise coming. If everybody can just mute their line, this will be better. I feel then we don't need to worry about the noise or everything. Yeah, thank you so much, sir. Thank you. So then what happens is, then if we have these multiple cash flows, then how do we calculate CAGR? So what we'll have to then do is we'll have to take the help of Excel. So you put all this data in Excel, and there is a formula called XIRR. and you put this formula, you apply, you select these values, you select the dates, and it will give you a value of 19.46%. So now that you have entered your other cash flows, your rental and all that, then your return has.
साहिल जी, आपकी आवाज चली जा रही है बीच बीच में, आपकी
Hello?
आवाज म्यूट हो रही है बीच बीच में।
नहीं पर सर मैं कुछ नहीं कर पा रहा हूँ, मैं कुछ नहीं कर रहा हूँ, मेरा तो यहाँ पे अनम्यूट ही दिख रहा है।
हाँ नहीं, बस बीच में ना साइलेंट हो जाता है, फिर आ जाता है अपने आप ही।
अच्छा ऐसा है क्या? ओके
हाँ।
ठीक है, अब एक बार कोशिश करते हैं, और अगर अब जाएगी तो मुझे बताना, तो मैं मेरा हेडफोन निकाल दूंगा, तो फिर मैं आई जस्ट कम डायरेक्टली ऑन द लैपटॉप। ये शायद
ठीक
मैंने
है,
हेडफोन पहना है, उसमें कुछ हो सकता है दिक्कत हो।
ओके सर।
हाँ ओके ओके ठीक है। तो इफ यू कैलकुलेट मल्टीपल कैश फ्लोज, तो हमको ये केगर अभी हमारा इंप्रूव हो गया। सिमिलरली आप शेयर्स अगर खरीदते हैं तो द सेम थिंग यू हैव टू डू इज यू हैव टू टेक द ओपनिंग बैलेंस, all right, and whatever purchases you have made over the years, all right, or whatever the purchases you have made historically, whatever dividends you have got, whatever if you have sold, put it as a negative value, and whatever the closing balance you have, you put it as a positive value, and what you will get is basically a CAGR of that. So then this gives you the ability to measure CAGR across various investment options across various years where negative and positive cash flows are there, right? So why it is important to calculate CAGR? One of the other reasons is because of inflation, right? Now say if you had something, a basket of products costing 10 rupees, 100 rupees in 2012, and if you say that inflation is an 8% over the last 10 years, then in 2022 the cost of the same exact products is going to be 200 rupees, correct? Now if the return that you are making on the money that you are saving is more than the inflation, right, then you can say wealth creation is happening. And if you say that the return is happening lesser than the inflation, so if you are making a 5% on a fixed deposit or something, and your inflation is 7-8%, then your wealth is getting depleted. That means the effort that you have put to earn that money is basically decaying, it is losing its value. And this again is something that we need to think about, that whatever wealth or money we have, that should at least not decay, if not increase, right? The second lesson is equity is the best asset class, right? So what we have tried and done here is we have put all the options that a retail investor has, and we have compared it on these parameters of return, risk, volatility, tax, and liquidity. And in most of these parameters, equity, it does well, right? So your liquidity is high, tax rates are better or lower, volatility is high, but that is a good thing because that allows you to take benefit and buy good companies at a cheaper price, right? If you can have a handle on volatility going against you, so you buy something, and if then volatility is there and the prices go down, then you should have the ability to stomach that. But if you have that, then it is a good thing also, because then good stocks, great stocks are available at a cheaper price for you to buy. And then risk, I have put a question mark because we will discuss about risk and how we can kind of manage risk, right? So if you look at all of these parameters, something or the other is missing. But in equity, if you can kind of handle volatility and risk, then we can safely say that equity is the best asset class. Now, people have this perception that high risk is always high return and low risk is equal to low return, right? But I believe this is a fallacy. It really doesn't work that way always, right? Now I'll tell you a case where by taking very low risk, high returns have been made, right? And we don't have to go far. We have to just look at the Nifty 50 TRI returns, correct? So basically this chart that you see in front of you, this blue line is basically how the Nifty has behaved. And what is this Nifty 50 TRI is basically total return index. So this is also taking into consideration all the dividends that have been paid by these companies over the years, right? Now, if I have to explain this chart to you a little in detail, these orange bars that you see is basically what is the growth that has happened from the previous year. So from 2001 to 2002, there is a 6% increase. From 2002 to 2003, there is a 79% increase, correct? and so on and so forth. And say in this year, there is a 50% drop, correct? So these orange bars are basically telling you from the previous year how much has the Nifty kind of changed. And you can see only in 3 or 4 years, okay, we can see that the Nifty has actually gone in the negative territory, correct? Now, if you would have invested 100 rupees in the Nifty, that same 100 rupees would have been around 1700 odd rupees today, correct? Now, what are these yellow dots? So these yellow dots are also very interesting. So what happens is, say if you would have purchased this in say 2001.
साहिल जी
Yeah, जा रहे हैं सर वापस
नहीं आवाज तो प्रॉपर आ रहा है सर. आपका विंडो शेयर करेंगे तो हम लोग भी देख पाएंगे वो ऑरेंज और डॉट्स और वो सारी चीजें.
नहीं, वो आपको दिख नहीं रहा है सर, आपको मेरी स्क्रीन नहीं दिख रही है.
स्क्रीन नहीं आ रहा है, आपका आ रहा है, स्क्रीन नहीं आ रही है.
अरे यार, तो इतनी देर से आप स्क्रीन ही नहीं देख पा रहे हैं.
स्क्रीन नहीं आ रहा है इसमें.
अरे रे, तो मैं तो पूरा प्रेजेंटेशन आपको बता रहा हूँ, ऐसे कैसे हो गया? नहीं पर सर आई थिंक सबको दिख रहा होगा, आपको नहीं, आप थोड़ा चेंज करिए.
साहिल स्क्रीन इज देयर.
हाँ,
क्योंकि मेरे पास शोर बहुत है अभी इलेक्शन का, तो आई एम नॉट कमिंग विद
नो इश्यूज,
आई एम कीपिंग माय सेल्फ म्यूट, बट स्क्रीन इज देयर. विकास जी मे बी आप देख नहीं पा रहे हैं शायद. स्क्रीन इज विजिबल.
विकास जी, आई थिंक देयर इज सम सेटिंग्स दैट यू हैव टू गो. आपको मेरा बंद करके वो प्रेजेंटेशन ओपन करना, उसको मेरे को मिनिमाइज कर दीजिए आप, देन यू विल बी एबल टू सी.
देखता हूं सर.
जी ओके, ठीक है. सो या एवरीबॉडी प्लीज म्यूट अगेन. ओके, सो ये जो ऑरेंज डॉट्स है वो क्या है? व्हाट आर दीज ऑरेंज डॉट्स? ठीक है, तो अगर समझो आपने 2001 में 100 रुपए पे अगर निफ्टी लिया होता, and if you would have exited in any of these years, what is the CAGR you would have made? So अगर आप 2002 में exit करते आप 6% बनाते. अगर आप 2006 में exit करते, you would have made a 33. I'm saying 33% CAGR, not a 33% absolute return, right? 33% CAGR. Similarly, ये इतना करेक्ट हुआ, और अगर आप 2008 में भी बेचते तो आपका फिर भी 18% CAGR बनता, right? And if you see all of these numbers, right? No, in any period of time, it has not gone below 15 or 16 odd percentage, correct? So 15% से नीचे नहीं बना in any period. मतलब अगर आप 2001 में खरीदते कभी भी बेचते, आपका 15 से तो ज्यादा ही बनता, right? So what we can safely say here is that if an investor invests SIP every month religiously in a Nifty 50, right, or a Sensex or whatever, और वो करते जाएंगे, ठीक है, then over a period of time उनका रिटर्न मोटा मोटी 15% के आसपास बनना चाहिए, करेक्ट? नाउ इफ यू सी इवन द अमेरिकन इंडाइसेस, राइट, यू टेक द 100-year हिस्ट्री, उनका भी रिटर्न मोटा मोटी जो वहाँ का एक है रिटर्न इंडेक्स के भाई 10% या 12%, वो स्टैंडर्ड बन ही जाता है, राइट? बिकॉज इंडिया इज अ फास्टर ग्रोइंग इकोनॉमी, हम बोलते हैं कि हमारा 15% बन जाता है. सो by taking very low risk, correct, people who diligently put money regularly in the Nifty 50, they have got a 15% return, right? तो केस बताया जहाँ पे लो रिस्क लेके हाई रिटर्न बन गया, राइट? सिमिलरली अगर आप देखें तो एक मैं आपको केस दिखाता हूँ जहाँ पे मैंने हाई रिस्क लेके लो रिटर्न बनाया, एंड दिस इज माय पर्सनल स्टोरी, माय फर्स्ट एनकाउंटर विद द स्टॉक मार्केट एंड हाउ I lost money and burnt my hands. ठीक है, so I am calling it the pitfalls of mindless investing, which most retail investors do, right? So basically the story goes that I was working for Deloitte. I was getting a very handsome stipend that time. इतने खर्चे नहीं थे तो पैसा बच जाता था, और यही पैसा फिर मैं ऐसा सोचता था कि कुछ सेव करूंगा और हर महीने ये शेयर्स में लगाऊंगा पैसा, बिकॉज इन बॉम्बे देयर इज दिस कल्चर के आजू बाजू में जितने भी चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट्स है वो कुछ ना कुछ इन्वेस्टिंग करते रहते हैं. आई हैव सीन पीपल मेक मनी इन shares. So I said maybe shares is the best place to invest money in. Now when you have money in your account, the best thing you can do to buy shares, you don't know anything, so you will go to your friends, you will go to your colleagues, you will go to your seniors and you will ask them, sir आप क्या ले रहे हो, sir मुझे भी बताओ. And then anybody told me anything, मेरे को थोड़ा भी समझ में आया, without doing much research or understanding what that company does, I started buying, correct? And this is a period of 2008. So I joined my articleship in 2008 or around that time. And this is basically the period I joined. और मैंने यहाँ से थोड़े ये सालों में 3-4 साल में मैंने इन्वेस्ट किया. Now, if you look at this period, this was the very good period. मतलब अगर यहाँ पे किसी ने इन्वेस्ट किया होता तो that 9,000 almost became 20,000, correct? So the market actually doubled in this time frame, correct? And I actually made my money 1/4, मतलब मेरा 2 लाख जो मैंने सेव करके इन्वेस्ट किया था वो 50,000 हो गया, राइट? सो इन 2011 व्हेन आई कंप्लीटेड वन ऑफ माय एग्जाम्स, एक एग्जाम खत्म हुआ उसके बाद जब मैंने मेरा पोर्टफोलियो उठा के देखा तो इतना सारा वेल्थ मेरा डिस्ट्रॉय हो गया, एंड देन आई गॉट रियली अपसेट एंड आई सेड यार आई डोंट वांट टू डू दिस, मैंने सारा बेच दिया उसको, ठीक है ना? And then I said I don't want to invest in stocks anymore. And then I got a chance to work with the company that I worked, and then I actually learned how investing is done. Now, why did I lose so much money? ऐसा तो क्या हो गया कि मेरा पैसा 1/4 हो गया जब मार्केट एक्चुअली डबल हो गया, ठीक है? सो देयर वाज अ क्लाइंट ऑफ माइन इन बीपीएल मोबाइल, हम बीपीएल मोबाइल को ऑडिट करते थे। उन्होंने मुझे ये चार्ट दिखाया, उन्होंने बोला कि देखो ये अबान ऑफशोर करके कंपनी है, ये कुछ रिग्स लीज पे देती है ऑयल कंपनीज को, और देखो ये इतने नीचे से शुरू हुआ था, ये 5,000 तक जाके ये वापस नीचे आया है और अभी वापस ऊपर आना शुरू हुआ है, तो आप यहाँ पे ले लो, अब वापस ये 5,000 तो चले ही जाएगा, ठीक है? तो दिस इज द रेंज आई स्टार्टेड बाइंग अराउंड 1,200 रुपीज। थोड़े ही दिन में वो 1,600 रुपया होगा, तो मुझे लालच लगा, मैंने बोला अरे यार ये तो ऊपर जा रहा है, देन आई बॉट सम मोर, राइट? एंड देन वो स्टॉक थोड़े दिन ऊपर नीचे रहा, मुझे पता नहीं, मैं फिर देखना छोड़ दिया। एंड देन एट दिस पॉइंट सम इवेंट हैपेंड इन दिस कंपनी, एंड देन वहां से ये गिरना शुरू हुआ और फिर वो गिरता ही गया और वो कभी फिर रिकवर नहीं हुआ, राइट? सो एट दैट टाइम व्हेन इट वाज 5,000 ऑड रुपीज, तब इसका 20,000 करोड़ का मार्केट कैप हुआ करता था, आज इसका 45 रुपीज प्राइस और 250 करोड़ की मार्केट कैप है। सो अ लॉट ऑफ वेल्थ हैज बीन डिस्ट्रॉयड इन दिस कंपनी, राइट? अब ऐसा तो क्या हो गया इस कंपनी में? तो जब हाइंडसाइट में मैंने जाके देखा कि अबान अफसर में हमने क्या गलती करी, राइट? तो ये आर्टिकल मुझे मिला एक 2010 का, यहाँ पे ये एक रिग इन्होंने लीज करी थी पेट्रोनस वेनेजुएला को, ओके, जो डूब गई, ठीक है? और ये रिग उसको 11% उसके रेवेन्यू को कंट्रीब्यूट करती थी, ठीक है? और उस टाइम पर ये कंपनी पे ऑलमोस्ट 11,000 करोड़ का डेट था, करेक्ट? सो देयर आर सो मेनी रेड फ्लैग्स इन दिस वन बिजनेस। एक तो इट इज अ वेरी हेवीली इंडेटेड कंपनी विच इज नेवर अ गुड थिंग, नंबर 1। नंबर 2 कि इसका रेवेन्यू जो है वो काफी कॉन्सेंट्रेटेड है, मतलब अगर इसकी एक रिग डूब गई या इसका एक कस्टमर चला गया तो उसके रेवेन्यू पे बहुत बड़ा इम्पैक्ट आ जाएगा, राइट? एंड जनरली दीज बिजनेस हिस्टोरिकली इफ यू सी दीज बिजनेसेस are very much correlated with the way the oil prices are moving up or down, right? So it's more of a demand and supply sort of thing. तो उस बेसिस पे हमारा ये डेट फिर सर्विस नहीं कर पाया, प्रॉब्लम हो गए और वो करते करते वो नीचे आ गया, राइट? अभी एक दूसरा मैं आपको एग्जांपल देता हूँ कि हमने और कहाँ पे गलती करी, ठीक है? एक आशापुरा माइनकेम करके कंपनी हमारे एक फ्रेंड ने हमें बताई थी, ठीक है? सेम स्टोरी वहां पे भी थी कि देखो ये 50 रुपए से 400 रुपया हो गया, फिर यहाँ से गिरना शुरू हुआ, पर यहाँ पे इवेंट पहले हो चुका था, हमने इवेंट होने के बाद में खरीदा, ठीक है? और फिर ये यहाँ पे हमने कुछ 35 या 45 रुपीज में कुछ बाई किया, फिर ये थोड़ा ऊपर गया, उसके बाद फिर ये नीचे आ गया और हमने कुछ 20-25 रुपए में बेच के भी वेंट हो, ठीक है? और उसके बाद में फिर ये ऊपर गया, नीचे आया, और अगर आप देखो तो ये 7 करोड़ का मार्केट कैप है आज, जबकि इसके पीक पे ये ऑलमोस्ट 3,000 करोड़ का मार्केट कैप था और अभी इसका प्राइस कुछ 87 रुपीज चलता है, ठीक है? सो इसमें भी लॉट ऑफ वेल्थ हैज बीन काइंड ऑफ डिस्ट्रॉयड। अब इसमें क्या हुआ ये देखते हैं, ठीक है? तो ये कंपनी बेसिकली बॉक्साइट माइनिंग करता था गुजरात के अंदर, और गुजरात गवर्नमेंट ने वन फाइन डे आके बोला कि भैया आप बॉक्साइट एक्सपोर्ट नहीं कर सकते, ठीक है? वो तो एक प्रॉब्लम हो ही गया कि रेवेन्यू पे प्रॉब्लम हो गया। अब इन कंपनीज का थोड़े शिपिंग कंपनीज के साथ कुछ कॉन्ट्रैक्ट्स थे, ठीक है? अब वो कॉन्ट्रैक्ट्स वो ऑनर नहीं कर पाए बिकॉज बॉक्साइट एक्सपोर्ट ही बंद कर दिए, ठीक है? तो ये सारे कंपनीज ने इस कंपनी पे बहुत बड़े बड़े क्लेम मार दिए, ठीक है ना? और क्लेम मार दिए मिलियंस ऑफ डॉलर्स के। तो इसका एनुअल रिपोर्ट का ये एक्सट्रैक्ट है, और इसमें ब्रिटिश मरीन ने 107 मिलियन डॉलर का इनके ऊपर केस कर दिया, ठीक है ना? और ये बोल रहे हैं कि और भी कंपनीज के हमको लगता है 60 मिलियन डॉलर के और क्लेम्स आएंगे हमारे पे, ठीक है? तो ये लीगल बैटल में एनगल्फ हो गया, ठीक है? और अगर आप इसका 2011-12 का एनुअल रिपोर्ट देखें तो इन्होंने टोटल 126 मिलियन डॉलर्स का प्रोविजन लिया विच वाज 562 करोड़। अब आप सोचिए ये कंपनी इसके पीक पे 700 करोड़ का रेवेन्यू करती थी और 30-40 करोड़ का मुश्किल से प्रॉफिट करती थी, राइट? फॉर अ कंपनी ऑफ दैट साइज एंड प्रॉफिटेबिलिटी इट हैज टू प्रोवाइड ऑलमोस्ट 560 करोड़ राइट, तो वो कंपनी का तो दिवाला निकल ही जाने वाला है, राइट. आई मीन मार्केट्स विल obviously act very negatively. Now all this information at that point in time we did not have, we did not think, we did not understand, and we just blindly bought, and that is why we made such huge losses, right? So basically Warren Buffett says risk comes from not knowing what you're doing. So the simple thing is, if somebody doesn't know how to drive and if he sits on the driver's seat, then at least 2-3 people are going to die that day, right? So whatever we do, we have to understand that if you don't know it, then we are going to incur a lot of losses, right? And I think retail investor का सबसे बड़ा problem ये भी है कि उनको ये पता नहीं चलता है कि उनको नहीं आता है, right? They will, just because somebody has told them, they will blindly buy and then they will expect कि यार हमारा return नहीं बनता, but your return cannot be because you don't know what you are doing, right? Now I want to show you this graph. This is a very interesting graph. So 2022 में ऐसा बोल रहे हैं कि India is almost a $3.5 billion economy, right? And by 2031 we will be a $8.4 trillion economy, correct? That means कि हमने इंडिपेंडेंस से अब तक जितना किया उससे ऑलमोस्ट डबल हम नेक्स्ट 10 साल में करने वाले हैं, ठीक है? सो इंडिया इज रियली गोइंग टू गो प्लेसेस, राइट? और अगर आप देखेंगे तो इंडिया इज समवेयर अराउंड ईयर 3-4 बिलियन के आगे, और आई थिंक बाय 2030 हम विल बिकम द थर्ड लार्जेस्ट इकोनॉमी इन द वर्ल्ड आफ्टर यूएसए एंड चाइना. So how much exposure should one, so we can safely say that equity में कुछ exposure तो हमें लेना पड़ेगा, क्योंकि हमने निफ्टी का भी चार्ट देखा में कितना एक्सपोजर लेना चाहिए, राइट? तो देन मेरा एक थियरी है कि आपके पास पेशेंस कैपिटल कितना है ये पहले आप कैलकुलेट करो, मनी दैट यू डोंट नीड बेसिकली. तो इसमें आपके सारे एसेट्स आप ले लो जो भी आप ओन करते हो, ठीक है? उसमें से आपका घर हटा दो, आपके जो भी बिजनेस में एसेट्स लगे उसको हटा दो, आपका फैमिली का कुछ गोल्ड है वो सारा हटा दो, फिर आपके कुछ कमिटेड फंड्स होते हैं, बेटी की शादी करनी है or you want to send your children for some degree or whatever, you remove all those expenses. Then you have an emergency fund or whatever you are comfortable with, right? And whatever you get in the end, basically that is your patience capital. This is money that you actually will not need. This is money that will be inherited to the next generation in a way, right? अब उस patience capital का you apply the 100 minus age rule. So say if somebody is 30 years old, then at least 70% of his assets should be tied to equity. And probably somebody 60 years old, तो 40% होना चाहिए, right? So हम ये भी देखते हैं कि equity पे, if you look at any successful investor, and if you ask him, then probably they would be 80-90% invested in equity, right? So at a younger age, आपका equity में जितना ज़्यादा exposure होगा उतना ज़्यादा wealth आपका बनेगा, provided that you are doing it the right way. But again, the problem with the retail investor is कि उनको पता नहीं है कि उनका wealth का कितना परसेंटेज इक्विटी में है. सो देयर इज नो प्लानिंग और अंडरस्टैंडिंग ऑफ दैट आल्सो, दैट इज देयर, राइट? तो इस पे भी थोड़ा हमें सोचना चाहिए कि, और ये कैलकुलेट करना चाहिए कि हमारा टोटल एसेट जो हमारे पास है उसमें से इक्विटी का एक्सपोजर कितना है, ठीक है? द थर्ड थिंग आई अंडरस्टूड इज दैट इंडेक्स इन्वेस्टिंग इज हार्ड टू बीट. तो ये तो मैंने आपको पहले बता ही दिया, बट इसको और थोड़ा हम समझते डिटेल में कि क्यों ऐसा होता है, ठीक है? तो अगर हमने वही पैसा 2 लाख जो हमने लगाया, अगर वो हम निफ्टी में लगा देते तो वी वुड हैव मेड 6.5 टाइम्स रिटर्न, राइट? तो मेरे पास अभी 13 लाख रुपया होता. तो वो दो का जो 50 मेरे पास आया उसकी जगह पे आई वुड हैव टुडे हैड 13 लाख रुपीस, राइट? अब हम एक देखते हैं एक एग्जांपल जहाँ पे हम इक्विटी फंड, राइट, और एक फिक्स डिपॉजिट को कंपेयर करते हैं, ठीक है? तो उसे आप इन वन केस यू आर इन्वेस्टिंग इन फिक्स डिपॉजिट, हियर यू आर इन्वेस्टिंग इन इक्विटी फंड. दोनों में आप 12-12 हजार रुपया डाल रहे हैं महीने में, एक में आपको 60% मिल रहा है, दूसरे में हम 12% ही गिन रहे हैं. जो मैंने 15-16 बताया, हम ऑन अ कंजर्वेटिव साइड हम 12 ही गिनते हैं, ठीक है? आपका इन्वेस्टमेंट ड्यूरेशन से 30 इयर्स है, तो आपका टोटल इन्वेस्टेड वैल्यू विल बी 43 lakhs, ऑब्वियसली इन बोथ द केसेस. बट योर टोटल रिटायरमेंट पर्पस इन वन केस विल बी 1.47 crores and in other case it will be 4.23 crores, right? So it is almost 3 times more, right? Similarly, अगर आप 50,000 रुपया निकालेंगे हर महीना, और एक केस में आप 12% कमा रहे हैं, दूसरे में 15% कमा रहे हैं, ठीक है? जो हम सोचते हैं कि इसके आसपास निफ्टी आ जाएगा, एंड इफ यू आर डूइंग दैट फॉर 30 years, देन यू वुड हैव सेव्ड क्लोज टू 1.8 crores, and in the first case you would have around 18 crores, and in the second case you would have almost 35 crores, right? So these numbers are, you can check and recheck, these will मैथमेटिकली प्रॉपरली कैलकुलेट, करेक्ट। अब इसमें हम और भी थोड़ा कुछ ऐड कर देते हैं। हम बोलते हैं कि एवरी मंथ से यू सेव 50,000 रुपीज, करेक्ट। और ये हम एक्सपोनेंशियल एसआईपी कर लेते हैं हम उसको। दैट मीन्स कि हर साल अगर कोई पर्सन सैलरीड है या कोई बिजनेस में है और हम ये सोचते हैं कि हर साल उसका धंधा या उसका सैलरी 10% से बढ़ जाता है, ठीक है, देन ही विल ऑल्सो इंक्रीज हिज मंथली इन्वेस्टमेंट बाय 50,000 रुपीज। सो देन अगर ये पूरा साल आपने 50,000 डाला तो अगला साल आप उसको 55,000 रुपीज डालेंगे। एंड इफ यू डू इट दैट वे, then your total invested amount will be almost 4.41 crores in both the cases, and your total retirement corpus in the first case would be 56 crores at 12% and 116 crores at 15%. So now these numbers start to look really big and these are serious numbers, right? So मेरा कहने का खाली यही है कि by doing very simple things very consistently over a period of time, the Indian investor, by just being invested in the generic market of India, that is the Nifty 50 or the Sensex, can actually create a lot of wealth, right? Then I say that as an investor, आपका पैसा जाएगा कहाँ पे? So there are 2 or 3 things जहाँ पे पैसा आपका चले जाएगा. If there is an untowardly medical emergency that happens with your family, and if you are not insured for that, or your family members are not insured for that, that is the time when your wealth creation or your money that is invested in equity will have to be withdrawn, right? तो हम उसके लिए health insurance ले लेते हैं. And if some member of the family is the only working or the earning member of the family, then he can take a term insurance. Okay, if he is not there tomorrow, the family will still sustain and will not have to basically rely on the equity portfolio that you have created for them. And the third is this whole life insurance or the endowment policy, which I am absolutely against, and I think this is a very big scam. और उसका भी एक चार्ट फटाफट से देख लेते हैं. So say in the first case you take an endowment policy, in the second case you take a term policy. दोनों में ये सम अश्योर्ड एक में आपको 5 लाख मिलता है. दैट मींस इफ समथिंग हैपेंस टू यू आपको 5 लाख मिलेगा, यहाँ पे आपको 1 करोड़ मिलेगा. The annual premium you are paying for this is 23,000. In the other case you are paying 11,000. Total premium paid is 5,78,000, and in this case you are paying only 2,75,000. Now what we are saying is that in the first case, when if nothing happens to you, right, और आपका जब maturity हो जाएगा, so you will get around 13.5 lakh rupees. Now what we do is whatever 13 or 12,000 what we are saving, we will put in a mutual fund, index fund, which will give us 12% for the next 25 years. And in that way we will have saved close to 3 lakh rupees. और वो 25 साल के बाद हमें almost 19 lakh rupees देके जाएगा, right? So if you compare both the things, पहले में आपको रिटर्न भी कम मिल रहा है, आपको कवर भी कम मिल रहा है. इन द सेकंड you are getting more returns and you are getting more coverage, right? So I think this is always better any which ways you calculate it, correct? तो इसके लिए endowment policy.
Sahil, in this endowment, how many years you have taken to reach maturity bonus 13.37 lakhs? How many years?
I think that 25 years only.
25 years.
Yeah.
Okay.
At what age?
You want to say that endowment, instead of taking endowment,
Yes.
you should have taken term insurance.
Yes.
Because in that case, every year you are paying 11,000, and if something happens, you'll get 1 crore.
Correct.
Okay.
And also the 12,000 that you are saving.
Yeah.
पहले केस में आप 23,000 दे रहे हो. So I am saying you invest at 23,000 only. So whatever the 12,000 that you are saving, you start putting it in a Nifty 50 index fund.
Okay.
जो हमें सिर्फ हम 12% ही गिन रहे हैं उसमें भी. We are not taking 15%. We are saying let's be very realistic and very pessimistic, and we only take 12%. Still you are going to make 19 lakhs on that.
Okay.
Right. So अगर आपको कुछ भी नहीं हुआ, right, तो आपको 19 lakhs मिल जाएगा. और इतने 25 साल का your family had that cover of 1 crore, right?
Okay.
ये कौन सी एज पे कवर है?
I think this would be at a very young age. मतलब if I have taken 25 years, तो आप समझो 25 साल पे ये लिया होगा. 25 साल पे. इसमें कुछ अगर गलत हो तो you all can please point out. तो मैं भी I will also
नहीं, इसमें गलत नहीं है. इसमें बस पॉइंट आउट यही है कि अगर किसी का 40 ईयर एज होगा तो उसका एनुअल प्रीमियम बढ़ जाएगा.
हाँ, उसका एनुअल प्रीमियम बढ़ जाएगा. दैट आई एग्री. बट ये आप ऐसा सोच लो कि इफ somebody is just starting out और जिसने कभी कुछ लिया ही नहीं है, For that person, it is very advisable to not go for endowment and go for term. Obviously, then if the person has grown older, तो उसका प्रीमियम दोनों में भी बढ़ने वाला है, एंडोमेंट में भी बढ़ेगा, टर्म में भी बढ़ेगा.
करेक्ट.
बट मेरे हिसाब से यू ऑल सी बिफोर यू कमिट योरसेल्फ टू एनी ऑफ दीज पॉलिसीज, ये कैलकुलेशन करना बहुत इजी है, ये एक बार कर लेना चाहिए एंड देन डिसाइड कि क्या अच्छा है क्या नहीं.
ओके,
आप समझ रहे हो ना मेरी बात? एटलीस्ट दैट मच वी कैन डू एज इन्वेस्टर्स ना, एज चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट्स हम कोई भी चीज को कमिट करते हैं तो दैट मच वी कैन डू. अच्छा, दूसरा एंडोमेंट का मुझे सबसे बड़ा प्रॉब्लम ये लगता है कि अगर आप ये ग्राफ देखें अगर, तो दिस इज द टोटल इन्वेस्टमेंट दैट यू मेक ओवर अ पीरियड ऑफ टाइम एंड दिस इज व्हाट यू गेट बैक. तो अगर आप कोई भी साल में निकलना चाहते हैं ना बाहर, तो यू विल ऑलवेज गेट लेस देन व्हाट यू हैव गिवन, व्हिच इज आई थिंक द बिगेस्ट ड्रॉबैक ऑफ एन एंडोमेंट पॉलिसी. बिकॉज क्या होता है ना, कभी कभी हर आदमी का लाइफ स्टेबल होगा ऐसा जरूरी नहीं है. आई नो पीपल who have lost their livelihoods and they are not able to pay that money and basically they need that money somewhere in between also. So isme they have no choice but to keep paying or to take that loss, which is, I think is very painful for an investor when he is paid for so many years and when this gap is so huge. तो आपको जब पूरा होता है तब आपको उससे थोड़ा ज्यादा मिलेगा, बट इसमें तो ये लोग बोल रहे 3% ही मिलता है. हमने हमारे कैलकुलेशन में फिर भी वी आर सेइंग कि 5-6% मिल जाएगा आपको, राइट. बट मोटा मोटी अगर आप रिटर्न देखें तो वो 4 से 5% के बीच में ही पड़ता है, राइट. और द मेन थिंग इज दैट कवर भी बहुत बड़ा नहीं है. मतलब अगर 5 लाख रुपए मुझे मिलेगा तो 5 लाख में मेरी फैमिली का ऐसे भी कुछ होने नहीं वाला है, राइट. जबकि करोड़ रुपए में a lot of things can happen.
Correct.
Right. So this is it. So basically what we want to say here is that indexing reduces complexity. So हम देखते हैं बहुत सारे इन्वेस्टर्स क्या है, बहुत परेशान होते हैं कि हम क्या करें क्या नहीं करें, क्या ले क्या नहीं ले. आई थिंक उससे बेटर ये है कि यू गो फॉर एन इंडेक्स फंड. यू डोंट हैव टू अप्लाई योर माइंड, राइट. आपने एक SIP लगा दिया, यू गेट ऑल दी प्राइसेस ऑफ द मार्केट ओवर अ पीरियड ऑफ टाइम. आपने महंगा भी खरीदा होगा इंडेक्स, सस्ता भी खरीदा होगा, एकदम रॉक बॉटम भी खरीदा होगा. सो आपका एवरेज अच्छा आ जाएगा, ठीक है, और आपका वो 15% के आसपास रिटर्न आने का चांसेस बहुत बढ़ जाता है, राइट, विदाउट एक्चुअली अप्लाइंग योर माइंड, विदाउट डूइंग एनीथिंग. तो अगर आप ये डेडिकेटेडली अगर 20 या 25 या 30 साल करते हैं तो आई थिंक अ लॉट ऑफ वेल्थ कैन गेट क्रिएटेड. प्लस दूसरा क्या होता है कि अगर आप कोई एक्टिवली मैनेज म्यूचुअल फंड लेते हैं तो उसकी फीस भी ज्यादा है, राइट. उसमें आप ऑलमोस्ट 1.5% जितना पे करते हैं और नियर अबाउट उसके बीच में कुछ. इंडेक्स फंड्स अगेन आर वेरी चीप, 0.2-0.3% पे आपको मिल जाएगा, राइट. सो वहां पे भी आपका वो ऑटोमेटिकली 1% तो आपने वहीं पे कमा लिया, राइट. और हम म्यूचुअल फंड की भी बात करेंगे कि एक्टिवली मैनेज म्यूचुअल फंड्स में भी क्या इश्यूज आते हैं. वी विल टॉक अबाउट दैट एज वी गो अहेड इन द लेक्चर. ठीक है, अभी तक एवरीबॉडी इज लाइकिंग.
What is the difference between index and actively mutual funds you are saying?
हाँ, तो इंडेक्स फंड होता है वो पैसिवली मैनेज होता है. मतलब उसमें निफ्टी जो फंड बना दे, ठीक है, इट इज द एग्जैक्ट कॉपी ऑफ दैट फंड. मतलब वो फंड में वही जो से, मतलब अगर हम HDFC म्यूचुअल फंड है, से इफ आई एम HDFC म्यूचुअल फंड, अगर मैं निफ्टी 50 का एक इंडेक्स निकालता हूँ, इट इज अ पैसिवली मैनेज. जैसे जैसे निफ्टी 50 चेंज होगा वैसे वैसे मैं चेंज करते जाऊंगा. माय फंड मैनेजर डजंट हैव टू अप्लाई हिज माइंड. Whereas the actively managed fund में क्या होगा कि my analyst, my fund managers will sit, they will apply their mind, क्या लेना है क्या बेचना है, and they will actively manage it basically.
Okay.
So that is the difference, right? तो actively manage इसके लिए महंगा है because somebody has to put effort. Passively manage is automatic, उसमें आपको कुछ करना नहीं है, right? सर यहाँ तक सब क्लियर है? कुछ क्वेश्चंस है तो यहाँ तक we can do a short break, थोड़े क्वेश्चंस ले लेते हैं फिर हम थोड़ा आगे बढ़ते हैं. और मजा आ रहा है, बोर हो रहा है, so I can increase my pace, reduce my pace. थोड़ा मुझे थोड़ा फीडबैक्स दीजिए.
So we'll not take break, but we'll have questions if the members have.
हाँ.
Sona Goyal says going. Going. She says going. Good going.
Good going. Okay, great. Thank you so much, Sonal. Great. तो बढ़े आगे, थोड़ा बढ़े फटाफट से.
Yes, definitely yes.
Okay. ठीक है, अब ये तो हमने अभी तक जो हमने बात करी.
Rohit is asking in SIP, can we also stop investing sometime? Maybe we can have a break for a year. We've started SIP, invested for 5-6 years, then have a break for 1 year and again start. Can it be done?
I think उसमें ना वो जब when the investor tries to be smart, I think उसमें it really doesn't make a very big difference to the end output. ठीक है, उसपे भी I have some material. I have not added in this presentation, but रोहित जी, I will just write this down और मैं सतीश जी को भेज दूंगा. सतीश जी, आप वो ग्रुप में भेज
Sure,
सकते हैं.
sure.
ठीक है ना?
And Sona का है, how to identify this is active mutual fund, sector funds are active mutual fund.
How to identify active mutual funds, sector funds are active. हाँ, नहीं तो मेरे को ऐसा लगता है कि when I am talking about index funds, so I am talking purely about your Nifty 50 or the Sensex 30.
Nifty 50 and Sensex 30.
हाँ. जब सेक्टोरियल फंड्स की आप बात करते हो जैसे फार्मा फंड या आईटी फंड, तो फिर वो बहुत स्पेसिफिक हो जाता है. ठीक है ना? उसमें भी मैं ऐसा बोल रहा हूँ कि सपोज एक इन्वेस्टर ने अपना मेजर पैसा यहाँ पे डाल दिया, बट इफ समबडी बिकॉज ऑफ देयर रीडिंग दे फील दैट फार्मा अभी थोड़ा सस्ता चल रहा है या फार्मा कंपनीज में प्रॉब्लम है और वो सस्ता मिल रहा है, एंड दे बिलीव कि ये सेक्टर अच्छा करेगा आगे जाके, बट दे डोंट नो व्हाट कंपनीज टू बाय स्पेसिफिकली, तो फिर देन इन दैट केस दे कैन गो एंड बाय अ फार्मा सेक्टर फंड, फार्मा स्पेसिफिक सेक्टर फंड.
Okay, index fund you said Nifty 50 and Sensex 30. And player maybe any
player maybe
like
any
HDFC and
any,
all those players have all these funds.
Almost all mutual funds will have that. Yes, all mutual funds
have index funds.
Will have index funds. The cheapest I think I believe is Navi, who was started by this Flipkart guys. Navi funds, NAVI. Okay, they are giving for I think 20%, 2.2%.
Okay.
And I think HDFC in these older guys are giving for 0.30%. Right?
Okay.
But I feel to go with an HDFC bank or a reputed person is better. We don't want the problem by like what happened in a Carvi or some other things that keep happening. So it's always better that you go with a reputed sort of a company, right?
So besides HDFC, which you suggest?
I think Kotak mutual fund is good. Axis mutual fund maybe देखो बीच में problem आ गया था, ठीक है ना? तो but I think Axis is also good. Edelweiss is okay. मतलब Edelweiss भी ऐसे चल जाए, कोई problem नहीं है. But if you ask me honestly, I will go for HDFC, Kotak, and maybe SBI.
We have to again mute because of the election.
Yeah. No issues. ठीक है, चले सर आगे बढ़े.
Sure.
हाँ, LIC में भी आप डाल सकते हो, बट LIC एज अ कंपनी ओनली आई डोंट लाइक यार. मतलब वो अच्छा है बट आई डोंट नो, उसका लाइफ इंश्योरेंस का प्रोडक्ट मुझे अच्छा नहीं लगता, तो फिर देन आई डोंट वांट टू वर्क विद दैट कंपनी ओनली. बट ठीक है, LIC भी आप यूज कर सकते हो, वो भी कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है. इंडेक्स फंड्स के लिए आप कोई भी यूज कर सकते हो, कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है. ठीक है, आगे बढ़ते हैं. अभी तक हमने जो भी बात करी दैट वाज फॉर पीपल हु वांट टू मेक दैट 12-15% and they are happy with that. But obviously there are people among us who will say, sir, we want to create humongous wealth, we want to become very rich by investing in equities. Then how do we do that? How do we actually beat the index? Correct? And I'll just tell you what happens when you do a higher CAGR, right? तो अगर हम 12-15 से ज्यादा अगर 26 करने लगे, ठीक है ना, तो आपका 10 साल में 10 गुना पैसा हो जाता है. At 26% CAGR, your money becomes 10x, correct? So say if somebody starts with 1 lakh, in the first 10 years, it will become 10 lakhs. In the second 10 years, it will become 1 crore. And in the third 10 year, it will become 10 crores, right? Yeah. So 1 lakh becomes 10 crores over 30 years by, if you do compounding at 26%. Okay. Up, I also want to talk about the advantages. So I'm going to talk about 3 things here. So if you want to create humongous wealth, you need 3 things. So first is you want to start early. Okay, abhi the people who have missed their time or older, okay, unke liye to abhi the period has gone. But at least the people who are there in today's seminar, who are people, I just want to show you what happens when you start early. Say if somebody starts at 23. So his investment period, and say if he's retiring at 60, his investment period is 37 years, right? So the total amount that you need at 60, say you need 5 crores, then your monthly SIP would be almost 6,100 rupees. Now, if you started 35 years, okay, 12 years later, तो आपका investment period 25 साल हो जाता है, और वही 5 करोड़ रुपया जमा करने के लिए you will have to then start saving 26,600 rupees every year, right? So you can see the difference. So shelling out 26,600 every year is more difficult than just shelling out 6,000 rupees every year. Correct? So here is where the difference lies. So जल्दी चालू करने का ये बहुत बड़ा एडवांटेज है कि आपको कम पैसा लगाना पड़ेगा. Now, what are the options that you have for actively or to participate in equities directly? Correct? तो एक तो आपका म्यूचुअल फंड आप ले सकते हो एक्टिवली मैनेज्ड वाला, ठीक है. दूसरा, you can go to a portfolio management service which basically starts at 50 lakhs. So as per the SEBI norms, if you want to invest in a portfolio management service, you need to at least have 50 lakh rupees. Third is registered investment advisor. That is what we are basically. हमने इसका लाइसेंस ले रखा है. इसमें कोई रिस्ट्रिक्शन नहीं है. रजिस्टर्ड इन्वेस्टमेंट एडवाइजर्स में एनी अमाउंट कैन बी गिवन, राइट. फोर्थ इज ऑल्टरनेट इन्वेस्टमेंट फंड्स. ऑल्टरनेट इन्वेस्टमेंट फंड्स में भी देयर इज सम क्राइटेरिया फॉर सम फंड्स, इट इज डिफरेंट, बट इसमें भी a little larger amount is required, say 25 lakhs or 50 lakhs, something like that. And then the last one is do it yourself. And I know a lot of people who are successfully doing do it yourself also. खुद पढ़ते, खुद समझते हैं और वो लेते हैं, and they are also successful doing it. तो मैं ये नहीं बोल रहा हूँ कि पैसा अगर आपको बनाना है इक्विटी में तो आप एक ही तरीके से बना पाओगे. देयर आर मेनी वेज टू मेक मनी, राइट, एंड दीज आर द ऑप्शंस दैट यू हैव. एंड देन वी विल टॉक अबाउट द प्रॉब्लम्स विद ईच ऑफ देम एंड what is the best course one can take for direct equity investing. ठीक है, अब थोड़ा हम बात करते हैं अच्छे कंपनियों की कैसे बड़ा वेल्थ बनता है. तो इफ यू लुक एट टाइटन कंपनी, which is the owner of Tanishq, this is the Tata company. If I would have invested in 2008-9 in that period, my money would have become 66 times, which is almost, I think, 132 odd crores. 1 crore 32 lakhs. That 2 lakhs would have become 1 crore 32 lakhs. ठीक है. अब इतना ज्यादा ग्रोथ कैसे हुआ? 36% केगर टाइटन में कैसे हुआ, राइट? सो लेट अस अंडरस्टैंड टाइटन ने क्या किया, राइट? सो लेट अस लुक एट द meteoric rise of Titan. Okay, so the first store that they started was in 1996, right? So it's a very recent brand, so to say, right? Bhaskar Bhatt, who actually is the guy responsible for making Titan what it is today, he joined as MD in 2000. He was there in the company, but he was working as a right hand to the MD, and then he was promoted to be the MD. And in 2002, this division started contributing almost 40% to the top line. And what has happened in these years from 8-9 till now, let us analyze that. So in this, the sales were almost 4,000 crores. Now it is 30,000 crores. That is a CAGR of 17%. PAT has grown from 159 crores to almost 2,200 crores, which is 22%, right? So you can see in a few years going forward, yeah, PAT will almost become, yeah, or their bottom line will almost become as much as their top line in 8-9, right? If you look at the jewelry contribution at that time was almost 73%. Now it is almost 90%. That time they had 125 stores. Now they have almost 600 stores. Share price, adjusting for bonus and share splits and all that, 39 rupees था तभी, अभी 2600 रुपया है, which is 36% CAGR. And market cap from 4,500 crores, it's almost 2,32,000 crores, right? So this is how Titan has grown, right? If you look at a company like Asian Paints, again 31% CAGR has been made, 38 times returns has been made, right? So मेरा 2 लाख होता भी 76 lakhs, ठीक है ना? So it is the undefeated champion. Okay, they started in 1942. They are the market leaders since 1967, right? They are the first Indian company to buy a computer in 1970. ISRO also bought it in 1980. So if you look at Asian Paints, their beauty lies in the way they have been able to develop the computer systems or their distribution channel intelligence, so to say, correct? So बहुत लोग बोलते हैं कि it is not a paints company, it is an IT company, correct? So in a market like a Bombay or a Delhi, Asian Paints will deliver to the dealer in less than 2 or 3 hours. So dealer उसको फोन करेगा, 2 या 3 घंटे में उनके दुकान पे वो माल replenish हो जाएगा, correct? I met some guys in Asian Paints some time back, and they said their forecasting engine is so powerful that in which market how much paint or what category is going to be required, that they can predict, and that is how they will produce that. So that gives it the advantage on so many counts, right? And that is why no other company can actually come anywhere close to the numbers that Asian Paints does. So it is a family-owned business, but they became a professionally managed business very early on. Okay, they were the biggest recruiter of IMs also, if you see, early on. Okay, and these people have done phenomenally well for the company. And now their goal is to become a home improvement company. And when I say market leader, I have been to paint shops across India. I have sat there on the counter just to see what is happening with the paint industry. And I remember I was at one dealer in Bombay, and I sat there for almost 2 hours talking to that guy, and then he was getting distracted in between. But I was there for 2 hours altogether, and out of the 30 or 40 painters that come, almost 90% or 95% asked only for Asian paints. And whenever the salesman tried to push him something else, they would say, we want only Asian paints. So that is the kind of brand equity they hold in the minds of these painter community, right? And basically for you and I, we will always trust our painter, because if we say कि नहीं हमको नेरोलैक लगाना है या बर्जर लगाना है, और painter will say पर साफ पे कुछ खराब हो गया तो मेरा जवाबदारी नहीं, then you will say नहीं भाई देखो जो लगाना है वही लगा, right? So that is where the whole sales of Asian Paints happen, right? And that is why it is called the undefeated champion. Again, from 8, 9 till now, if you look at the numbers, they were doing 5,500. Now they are doing almost 29,000. That was 400. Now it is 3,000 crores. Market share that time was 25%. Today it is 40%. Tinting machines are 12,000. Today they have almost 1.5 lakh tinting machines. That time the share price was 80 rupees. Today it is 3,100 rupees. Market cap was 7,500 crores. Today it is almost 3 lakh crores. Right? So a lot of wealth again has been made in Asian Paints, right? But somebody in a presentation, one of the participants, he asked, "Sir, aap to ye 2008-9 mein to everything was rock bottom. If you would have purchased at that time, obviously you would have made a lot of money." So we said, "Okay, fine, let's do one exercise. What if we would have bought double of that? So if 89 was the bottom price, what if we would have bought it 178? What kind of money would we have made?" So in Asian Paints, again, we would have still made 23% CAGR, and in Titan, we would have still made 27% or 28% CAGR, which again is not bad. I mean, it is wonderful returns, right? Now, somebody will say, "Sir, this is 2008-9. We had the financial crisis. Tabhi milta tha sasta. In today's day and age, we don't get," right? And all these questions too come up, right? But let me tell you that these opportunities keep coming, and I'll give you one example of what opportunity we came across, right? So this is a company called DV's Labs. We were researching on this company for quite a while, and always we found it to be expensive, right? And one fine day in 2016, we actually got an opportunity to buy this company. Now, this company from 2016's bottoms, or 2017, 16, 17's bottoms to now, okay, it has given a CAGR of almost 42% or a 6 times returns. And this company currently is at almost 3,100 rupees, and it has gone almost till 5,000 rupees at some point in time, correct? So why this company did well, what has happened? Can you excuse me for just 1 minute? Sorry. Hello? Hello? I'm in a meeting. I'll call you. Sorry for that. Okay. So what does this company do? Why did the share price go so high? And what's the story of DV's Labs? So DV's Labs basically is what we call a CDMO. Okay, now what a CDMO does basically is they manufacture drugs for the other pharmaceutical companies. So basically they create the chemicals, and these chemicals are then purchased by these formulators, or what we call the marketers of the drugs. They will put that powder in a machine. Your drugs will get printed out. They will package, and then the marketing company then will market and sell these drugs, right? So what happens in the US is there are or across the globe, there are 4 or 5 big pharma companies. And what these companies do is they spend billions of dollars in the drug development process, correct? And what DVs does is that once they feel that they have got a molecule which is suitable for a particular disease, then they will approach DVs, they will share their research, and they will say, now we need some quantity of this chemical, you make it for us and you give it to us. Now, because DVs is very intelligent in, or they are very capable in their chemistry skills, they will manufacture this drug and give it to these big pharma companies, right? So right from the drug discovery to the preclinical, and then whatever stages the drug goes through. So basically this is preclinical, right? Then this is clinical, wherein the drug is actually tested on patients. And then once clinical is done, then it is then an approved drug, and then it is sold basically to the market, right? Now, DV's labs helps them throughout this process. So here they may need a few kilos, here they may need a few 100 kilos, and here they may need a few 1,000 kilos. DV's labs will provide whatever they need, right? Now, why will a big pharma come to DV's labs, right? So first and foremost, DV's has built these relations with these big pharma over a very long period of time. And the big pharma trust DV's with their research, right? That DV's will not misuse their research, right? And that is how DV's gets into the pipeline of these companies, and then the patented drug that these big pharma companies make, they have the exclusivity to sell these drugs for 20 years. So then for 20 years, DV's also gets to manufacture these drugs and sell it to the inventor company, right? That is the first part of what DV's does, which is the creme de la creme, the most, the best you can do in the API space, that is the active pharmaceutical ingredient, or what the chemical of these medicines go, that is called the API. That is the best you can do. That is the best business that is there in the API segment. Now there is a segment of business which comes in between, which is the generic, where people are manufacturing a lot of drugs for other companies, which are more like generic, correct? And then there is one business where it is generic. I mean, there is a lot of competition in that space, correct? And say then DV says that, okay, paracetamol in the world, okay, who's the cheapest producer of paracetamol? So say some company in China is making for $3 a kilo, for example. Okay, DVs will use their chemistry skills and they will say we will manufacture for $2 a kilo. And they will manufacture it, and then they will start selling it, say $2.5 a kilo. And overnight, their entire market of that particular API will come to DVs. So basically, they are operating in the creme de la creme, that is the top market, and the bottommost market. They are not there anywhere in between where the larger competition is there. And that is what makes DVs such a successful company, right? Now, why the share price corrected so much? From almost 1,200 rupees, the share price came to 550 rupees. So the first article that I can get hold of was on 24th December 2016, where DV's Labs slips on US FDA report. So basically, US FDA came to their facilities and they said that there is some observation that we have. So when a company gets an observation, it may be a serious observation or it may not be a serious observation. So markets reacted, but it was not that serious. So from 1,200, the share price came to almost around 850 odd rupees. Then on 22nd March 2017, the US FDA actually gave them a warning letter and they put a ban on DV's Labs. One of the facilities of DV's Labs, which was in Visakhapatnam, which actually supplied 70% of goods to America. Whatever their exports were to America, 70% came from this plant. And this would dent almost 25% of their profitability. And the stock prices started to correct again, and it went till the bottom of almost 550 odd rupees, right? And on 10th of July 2017, the DV's Labs, it zooms because US FDA lifts the import alert. Now we knew this, that the import alert will be lifted sooner than later. Why? Because DV's Labs, some of the drugs or many of the drugs that they were selling in America, okay, they were the only manufacturers of that drug. So if they don't supply to America, then the American customer will stop getting that drug, number one. Number two, these guys were in the good books of all the big pharmas in America, who we knew would lobby and get him out of the rut, correct? And we said it will take 2 years, but within 2 years, this company will be out. Maybe there is a loss of profit, we don't mind, but we will not get Divi's Labs again at this price. And that is how we entered. And we were right, but we were wrong that we took 2 years. The situation corrected only in 6 months. So that was a welcome surprise for even us, right? And in 6 months, the stock turned up, and then it has gone up since. Right, so this is the story of Divi's Labs. Another company that I want to talk about is Bajaj Finance. Again, in the Corona period, if you see, so this is 2019 end, and this is the start of 2020. You see this stock from almost 5,000 rupees, it came crashing down to almost 2,000 rupees, correct? And if somebody would have bought in this time period, they would have made almost 89% CAGR or 3.5 times returns, correct? Now, what happened with Bajaj Finance? Again, I could get hold of an article. So basically what Bajaj Finance does, it is in unsecured lending, right? And so there were fears in the market that now that Corona crisis has happened and people are going to lose their livelihoods, Bajaj Finance is going to have a lot of NPA. That was the first fear. Second is now everything is going to be shut for a long period of time. Businesses are going to be hit. And so is the sale of electronics and other things. And so Bajaj Finance will not grow as much as they wanted it to grow, right? And then we had the moratorium issues and all those things that were there. Now we anticipated, or we did our calculations, and we said Bajaj Finance is a strong company, number one. Even if they get an NPA, right, the maximum loss that they will incur is 2 years of profitability will be gone, right? And we were happy with that because a thing that was for 5,000 rupees, we were getting at 2,000 rupees. So we said it makes sense, right? 2 years we will not make anything, but then money will come, right? And again, the pandemic situation turned sooner than we anticipated, and then people went bonkers, and then the markets just there was revenge buying and all that things that happened, and then the rest was history, and we are out of that rut. And whatever provisions the company had made, the losses were not, or the NPAs did not actually happen to that level, and all those provisions were again reversed, correct? So again, a lot of money was made in Bajaj Finance, and this was a once in a lifetime chance, or once in a decade chance, so to say, of buying Bajaj Finance at such steep valuations, correct? So you need 3 things when you want to create wealth. One is you need savings, obviously. One you need time, and one you need is CAGR. So savings you can get by delaying your gratification. You know, whatever you want to buy today, don't buy today. Delay your gratification. Save more, invest more. Second is start early, okay, so that you get more time. And the third is invest in quality companies so that you make more CAGR. Right? Okay, now let's look at, so what I say is that if you want to make money in the market, then you need to have an investment philosophy. So the other problem with our retail investors is that we do not have a philosophy, right? And what do I mean by philosophy? So let me just take you through a few people. Just a second. I think that slide is hidden. Just a second. Huh? Okay. So first we look at Warren Buffett. Okay. So Warren Buffett, if you know him, most of the people know him. Okay. He's known as the Oracle of Omaha. Okay. He's the wealthiest investor in the history of investing. Okay. And he's done things very simply. He said that you buy good companies at decent valuations and you hold on to them for very long periods of time. Right. That is the core of his philosophy. Right. And he's made a lot of money. We follow him. We pray him, like हम उसकी पूजा करते हैं, ऐसा भी आप बोल सकते हैं, right? He's given so much to the world by what he's learned, by his teachings and writings and all that. The second investor is Bill Ackman. So he's very much different to what Buffett does. Okay, so what Bill Ackman does is he's an activist. So what he'll do is he will identify a company that has some issues. Okay, either they are cheating their customers or there's some problem with that company, he will actually short a lot of shares of that company first. Then he will go on national television and he will start bashing that company, saying that this company is doing this, and then he will try and bring investor awareness, right? And if those companies, if the people feel that, okay, what Bill Ackman is saying is true, then Bill Ackman gets to make a lot of money, right? So basically he makes money by shorting shares, right? So this is another investment philosophy in a way. The third philosophy is of Cathy Wood. So Cathy Wood runs a mutual fund called ARK Invest, right? And she has almost $50 billion under management, and she just started in 2014, correct? And she invests in just 5 themes. Okay, so there are some 5 tech themes that she invests in. If whatever company falls in that theme, so basically it's genetics, AI, robotics, and crypto and all that. And if a company falls within those 5 themes, then only she will invest. Now, interestingly, from 2014 till 2021, she actually made a CAGR of 40%. 40%. Okay, a lot of money was made, and she was like a boss. Matlab, this lady killed it. She hit it out of the park, sorts, you know. And then from 2001, things kind of got a little wobbly for her, and the price of her fund from $156, it came crashing down to almost $35. And now, if you look at her CAGR from 2014 till today, okay, she has only made 7.5% CAGR, right? So that whole only investing in tech at any price has actually not been that good for her. The fourth guy is George Soros. So George Soros is the greatest trader that ever is or ever was, and he just does trading, right? He's not a long-term investor, and he has made 30% CAGR annually on his wealth in the last 40 years, right? So that is again a lot of money. And basically he takes massive directional bets, short-term bets on currency, stocks, and bonds, right? That is how he's made his money. Then there is a guy called Jim Simons. So Jim Simons was a professor at MIT, and then he basically started a quant fund, and he's made a CAGR of almost 66%, right? And basically he employs these mathematicians, physicians, statisticians, and they have actually created a model whereby they can actually analyze some things in the market or a lot of things in the market through very complicated calculations and then invest their money. And because of that, they're able to do 66%. But then again, you need brains like him. And the last guy is a guy called Nick Sleep from Nomad Capital. Okay, now this guy again follows Warren Buffett very closely, but he is the most concentrated investor there ever was. So all his money is only in 4 stocks. Okay, and he has 50% of his wealth in Amazon. Okay, so he started a fund in 2001 in the UK called the Nomad Fund. It became a $3 billion fund. Okay, and then the regulator came and said that you are too concentrated. We can't allow you to go forward like this. So these guys said, okay, fine, we will shut the fund. And they shut the fund, give the people their money back. They made a lot of money themselves. And then they have been they have been invested in these 3 or 4 companies. One is Amazon, one is Costco. Costco is a retail chain in the US. And the third is Berkshire Hathaway, that is Warren Buffett's company. And one other company, they have some stake, right? So these are certain philosophies or certain different tangents that I wanted to show you in terms of what kind of investors are there out in the market, right? What different things people are doing. Now, I got to work in a family office, and what I have realized, or what we have all realized, is that the rich always become richer, yeah. उनके पास जो पैसे वाला है वो और पैसे वाला होते ही जाता है. And retail investors or we people, we really can't make so much money, right? So in my learning with that office for so many years, there were certain observations that I had, that what is it that they are doing so differently, correct? And this I can say is true for any family office in India. So basically a family office is a very rich guy setting up an office, hiring 4 or 5 people working for him, and then investing his money, right? That is the concept of a family office. So the first thing that I observed was that they have an investment model. They have set tools for investment selection, right? So if it is a fund which has a lot of money If they feel that the family has a lot of money, we don't want to take risks, you maintain this money, even if you do a 12-15% return, we are happy, right? Then they will only buy very stable large cap stocks, correct? Then somebody may say we only want to invest in startups, we want to make a lot of money very fast, right? Then they may only invest in startups. Somebody may invest only in a particular segment, they want to invest in the technology segment. So jitni bhi tech companies hogi usme paisa dalna, so on and so forth. So every family office has some model and they follow this model very stringently. Second is they are run by experienced professionals. So there are analysts, fund managers, CIOs who are actually professionals who understand what they are doing. They are very goal oriented. They have defined return objectives. हमें कितना टका कमाना है वो objective से करते हैं काम. हो सकता है कि they may not reach their objective, but at least their objective is there. Retail investors, we don't have that objective when we invest. Then there is research intensity. There is a lot of reading. There is a lot of understanding. There is a lot of meeting other people. And there is a lot of documentation, discussions, and learnings that are taken from this reading. Then there are a lot of network of like-minded investors to bounce off ideas from, right? So if I like a certain set of people who are doing what I'm doing, then I will meet them regularly. They will throw some ideas at me. I'll throw some ideas at them. And you are always updated on what is happening in the market. And lastly, this is very sustainable, right? So what happens is if I have to give you a classic case, say Rakesh Jhunjhunwala, he was a very successful investor. Now, after his passing away, he has hired some professionals to run his fund, correct? And now those people will run the fund in the way Rakesh would have run it. And then probably when they retire, they will again select some better people than them to run the fund. And the family will always be invested in equity. They will keep making that money, right? So the sustainability is there. What happens with most retail investors is even if some guy is doing well, after that guy passes away, the family doesn't know what to do with those shares, right? And then that whole chain breaks, right? And the family may liquidate the assets or they may not do it that well. So the sustainability is not there. Whereas in a family office, all of these things are taken care of. Now, what is my investment philosophy? So you invest in the best companies that belong in the best industries and that are available at fair valuations. Okay, so we want 3 criteria to get fulfilled. Now I'll talk a little about what I mean by each of this. Right. So first, what is a great company? So the great company, the first point is that it should be in a great industry, right? An industry which has good economics, correct? Now, what makes an industry good, right? So low capex is the first criteria, low opex, no government regulation, secular nature of product or service, right? So if you are talking about Colgate, which everybody is going to use every day morning, right? The demand can never go down. Okay, it can be flat, but it can never go down. There cannot be cycles in that business. Compared to, say, a commercial vehicles business where the demand will come and the demand will go, or a metals business where the demand will come and the demand will go. So you want not a cyclical business, but a secular business. Then you want a business that has high ROEs, right? Because ROE is the ultimate measurement of the success of a businessman, right? If I have to compare 2 business people, whatever capital that they have, how much return are they making on that capital is a real measurement of that businessman rather than the share price, so to say, right? Then the opportunity size has to be huge, right? So sometimes there is a very niche segment, that some companies making an animal vaccine, right? It's a 200 crore opportunity. We don't want to go there. We want something where the size of opportunity is huge, that the entire market is only huge. And on top of that, there is still room for growth there. So high growth can still be achieved in that. So if you have all of these things, you can say that an industry is great. But obviously, we won't get an industry with all of these things. So it will be this somewhere in between, or this may be high, this may be very low. Okay, like so government regulations may be a little more, somewhere it will be non-existent, somewhere it will be very high. So on those parameters, we want the maximum to fulfill these parameters, right? That is what I'm trying to say. Now let's look at some businesses, so let's look at the paint business. And if you look at the paint business, so these are some 5 companies we have taken. Okay, if you look at the PE, the P's are very high. So almost 35, 55, 58, 64, and 80, right? So what this means is that they are expensively valued. That means the markets like these businesses. Now, why do the markets like these businesses? If you look at the 5-year average sales growth, they have all grown 25, 14, 14, 9. Only one company has grown 4%. I think they have sold some division there. But otherwise, you see 10, 12, 15% growth ho ja raha hai. If you look at their ROEs are very healthy, 25, 22, 21, 16. So the ROEs are good, right? And there is healthy operating profit margin, right? So 12, 13, 14, 16, and then Asian Paints does almost 20% kind of ROE, operating profit margin. So if you compare all of this, you can say that, okay, this is a good business. It has secular demand and it has the ability to pass raw material costs. So if you look at Asian Paints, whenever raw material prices increase, it will very slowly increase those prices in say 1 or 2 months. And then every other paint player will copy him and they will also increase the prices, right? But the customer doesn't complain, right? Because what happens is that customer is going to paint his house every 3 or 4 or 5 years, right? So from the last time he painted his house to the time he's painting it now, he's kind of forgotten कि मैंने last time क्या price में लिया है, right? So they have the ability to increase prices. So the only thing that can kill them or their margins is their inability to increase the raw material the prices when raw material prices go up. But these companies are able to do that very easily, right? That is why it is a good industry. The second is the commercial vehicles industry. Now, if you look at the profits or the PE, there are no profits, so there is no PE. Correct? Even in the Ashok Leyland case, it is 138. That means the profit is very minuscule. It's a small profit. That is why the PE number is looking very big. If you look at the price to sales, it's all 0.5, 1, 5, 0.7, 0.5, 0.7. Now, what does this mean? This means that the companies are poorly valued. That means the market doesn't like these businesses. They don't want to give a lot of money for these businesses. Why? So if you look at the 5-year growth, again, it is 0.6%, 2.8%, 1.1%, and minus 7.4%. So nobody has grown that much in the last 5 years. Sales growth are poor. If you look at the ROEs are also very poor, right? So the best guy, Ashok Leyland, is only doing 11%. Baki to sare negative ya single digits mein. And then if you look at the debt, okay, the debt is also pretty high. So 5.52 is pretty high debt. So we want a business that is less than half times debt, right? But anything more than half 0.5 is bad. So then 1, 2, 3, and 5, 5.5 is like a lot of debt, correct? Ashok Leyland, again, very big debt. Force Motors, again, the best in this category is 0.55. So they have a lot of debt also on their books, right? And the operating margins are also weak, right? So 9.5, 13.5, 6.4, right? So when you compare all of this, you realize that 3 or 4 things are happening. First of all, the nature of the business is cyclical. Transportation may the demand goes up, right? Then the demand peaks and then truckers stop buying trucks. Then the demand starts to come down, right? And then trucks go old, they go out of the system, then demand picks up again, right? So it is cyclical. Secondly, customer is very price sensitive, right? Whenever a trucker goes to buy a truck, he wants the truck that will give the best mileage and that is the cheapest. So you will always have competition on pricing, right? And third, the operation needs very high capex. So you need a big factory, you need to have inventory, this, that. So basically what I'm trying to say is that nothing works for this company and that is why it doesn't get the valuation. And the third is telecom. Okay, so if you look at the sales growth are extremely poor. 4%, 1, -1, minus 16, minus 17, right? So there is poor sales growth due to the geo factor, correct? Then they are incurring heavy losses. So only Bharti Airtel has made some loss, Tata has made some loss, Baki Vodafone has made a 28,000 crore loss and all losses, correct? If you look at the ROE, it's almost non-existent. If you look at the debt, okay, it is massive. So for a Bharti Airtel, it is 3 times. So almost on a 2 lakh, on a 72,000 crore of equity, they have 2,17,000 crores of debt. For a Tata, on a 907 crore of equity, they have almost 9,000 crores of debt. Vodafone, they have a negative equity, right? So ये तो cases में हम debt to equity भी calculate नहीं कर सकते. So you can imagine the condition of these companies, right? So what has not worked for these businesses is basically, first of all, 2G scam hua, government policies have been stringent from the way from when the 2G scams happened, right? Nobody made money following that, right? And then the competition came and the business models were kind of crushed, right? So I have shown you the good, the bad, and the ugly, right? Now, what makes a company great? The second point is simple business model, right? So what is simple business model? So first, there should be a business model. And second, if I cannot explain the business model in 5 lines or less, I don't enter that business. Sometimes what we see is many businesses, they don't have a business model. हर 2-3 साल में model ही change हो जाता है पूरा. We want to avoid those kind of companies. Then there is something called as a circle of competence. So Warren Buffett says, this is what you actually know, right? This is what you think you know, right? But you don't know. Basically, this is, you think that you know, but this is what you don't know, right? And this is where the trouble is, right? So for most investors, we should stay within this boundary. We should only invest in what we understand. We should not go into things we don't understand. Because when you go here, trouble is going to come, right? Then there is competitive advantage or moats, right? What is a competitive advantage or moat? So this is basically a castle and there is some water around it. What you see around it is called a moat, right? So the bigger or the wider and the deeper the moat is, the better it is. That means that the enemy cannot come and kill you, right? So in businesses also, what moat you see is basically your competitive advantage, that your competitor will not be able to come and destroy your business.
Very good example or the big Sahil.
Yeah. Yeah. So basically, this is not my my creation. This is what Warren Buffett says. So he always talks about moats in business. So Warren Buffett says that if your competitor knows your secret and still can't copy it, that's a structural advantage. That's a moat, right? So what the Indian investor also doesn't look for is a moat, right? When you are investing in a business that has a moat, right? जो DV's lab ने हमको moat दिखा कि the big 5 pharma companies want to work with DV's. They don't want to work with any other Indian player, right? Or very few Indian players. That's a moat, correct? For them, their chemistry skills of producing the chemicals at the lowest cost that others can't copy, right? That is their moat, right? So you want to invest in businesses that have a moat. अगर वो moat नहीं है, ठीक है, तो वो कभी ना कभी it will fall prey to competition and the share price will degrade or you will not make a lot of money. Right? What are the types of moats? फटाफट ये भी देख लेते हैं. Intangible assets होता है first is the brand, right? If you look at Coca-Cola, it is the brand recognition, their distribution list, their perception of quality. That is what makes Coca-Cola Coca-Cola. If somebody wants to copy Coca-Cola, if somebody wants to create that kind of a brand, that kind of a distribution, it is almost impossible in today's world, right? Even with $100 million, somebody cannot do it. Second is HDFC Bank. HDFC Bank, our moat is not the brand, but it's the culture, right? So in an environment where PSU banks are having record NPAs, in that same period of time, HDFC, or in any period of time for that matter, HDFC Bank has had very low number of NPA. And why is that? Is because the bank has a culture, right? That runs from the top management right till the branch manager, so to say. And they have been able to create these systems and processes which these employees cannot bypass. And that is what has made HDFC Bank so successful in the lending business, right? Then if you look at the Nike business, they are very good marketeers, right? They have this brand recognition again. Okay, they've done better than everybody else by really marketing their products very well. Then GSK is a big pharma, again, technical know-how. Then if you look at Apple, the way the whole ecosystem has been created around the iPhone. So first of all, when they created the iPhone, it was technical know-how. Then the Chinese guys copied them, and then smartphones became very common. And yet Apple persisted because Apple always invented, and Apple never let its customers go out its ecosystem, right? So if you look at Apple today, their Apple Watch and their earphones alone, if you put the revenue of that in a separate company, that would be a Fortune 500 company, right? If you look at Apple, their app store, okay, whatever from that 30% Apple takes directly, right? So that is the kind of revenue structures they've built, and they can actually go out there and milk their customer by selling them these add-on products, right? So they are not even giving a charger now with the iPhone. You have to buy a charger separately, correct? So the last company I want to talk about is Google. Again, Google is a company which, if you see from the very first day, has never charged money from its customers. So Google search was free, YouTube was free, Android on your phone is free, right? None of these, or Gmail is free, right? And then what Google did is, over a period of time, it let users get used to their services, become reliant on their services. If you take the case of YouTube, the creators came, the content consumers came, and then now it's such a big ecosystem. And then YouTube till so many years did not have any ads. Then it starts putting these ads, right? And then now the ads are almost 15-20 seconds, right? So now the customer has to go premium. So now people have actually started paying, right? So, and yet if somebody wants to use the service for free, they can use it for free. If you are a Gmail user or a Google Android user, your phone, if it reaches the 15 GB limit, correct, then you will have to pay 1,300 rupees to buy more space, right? So now they have slowly, by giving services for such a long time, right, and earning money from advertisers, now they are able to even take money from the final customer. So you can see how these companies have evolved, and what is the gestation period that is there, their vision that is there over a long period of time. Then the second mode is high switching costs. This we see in the software industry. If you are using a legacy software, it becomes very difficult to change it. Then monopolies by law. So certain monopolies are there that is created by the government. Again, we do not like these businesses very much because they are for the public good. So government can anytime come and change rules with these companies, right? So you don't want to be a shareholder in this company, and then the government coming and changing something, and you know, जैसा IRCTC में थोड़े टाइम पहले हुआ था कि some ministry guy came and said कि अभी इसमें ticketing का इतना नहीं, इतना charge लेना है, and the stock corrected almost 20-25% that day, and then they had to come back and say no, we made a mistake, right? So this is a real risk that is there with these businesses. Then there is something called as network effects, what we see in WhatsApp and Facebook and all. Not Facebook anymore now, but what we see with WhatsApp per se is the users, because everybody is using WhatsApp, you have to use WhatsApp, and that is why no other messenger can actually enter that market. And then the fifth is the lowest cost producer, right? So DMart is one classic example of, so if you go to any DMart, they are always cheaper than what you would get in other stores. You go to a Reliance or you go to any other supermarket, DMart will always be cheaper, right? Now, how can they do it? By their frugal operation, the way they manage their whole company. They pay their suppliers in 7 days. No other company can do that, right? So they get the best deal from their suppliers, right? They have big stores that are owned by them, right? So that gives them an advantage over time, right? Because the initial capex is high, but then as the store becomes older, the whole rental then becomes that cost for any other player would be always higher. For them, it will always be lower, right? If you look at DVs, again, the same thing. If you look at Hindustan Zinc, because they are the cheapest zinc producers in the world, zinc price kuch bhi hoga, they will always make a profit, right? So then the fifth mode is the lowest cost producer. So brand versus commodity. Brand. So etc. So Charlie Munger basically says any business can be distributed in two buckets, two categories. One is a brand business, or what he calls the economic franchise, and the other is a commodity business, correct? And let's see what happens in both of these categories. So in the first case, it is a near inelastic demand, okay? Easy price increases are possible. There is low capex. There is low regulatory interference. There is differentiated offering, and it is B2C. Now you can take these two companies and you think about their products, okay, and it will actually fulfill all of these criteria, correct? Unko KitKat concept flavor mein banana hai, the government will not come and regulate. Unko Maggi kya price pe bechna hai, government will not come and regulate, correct? So these are certain things that are there. if when I talk about low capex, Asian Paints will do some manufacturing themselves, some manufacturing of the lower category of products, they will get it outsourced. Correct? So this is possible. So अगर उनको factory नहीं भी डालना है, they will find other people who will do the capex and they can actually increase their profits like that. Then if you look at the commodity business, they have little pricing power. There is very little differentiation. There is very high capex in these businesses. It competes only on pricing, okay, and is good only if you are the lowest cost producer, and it is generally B2B, right? And if you look at a cement company, for example, it will fulfill all of these things. So in that particular region, every cement producer will have to be price competitive, correct? Obviously, cement में कोई differentiation नहीं है. As far as the grade is the same, the builder doesn't mind what cement brand it is. सीमेंट का प्लांट लगाने के लिए केपेक्स बहुत लगता है, ठीक है, सिर्फ प्राइसिंग पे कंपटीशन होता है. It is good if it is the lowest cost producer. So if there are, say for example, there are 2 cement companies in a particular region, okay, if one company for whatever reason is able to produce cement at a sustainably low rate for a very long period of time, right, then we can say that it truly has a moat, right? पर अगर कोई cement company है, आज वो कोई price पे बना रहा है and it has the full market, it does well, and if some competition tomorrow comes and establishes itself in that market, then the problems will start happening, and then that cement producer may not make so much money, right? And the last point I said, it's a B2B business. Then there is great management team. So what do we want in a management? We want the management to be honest. They should have unquestionable integrity. They should be very focused people. They should be very unemotional people. So जैसे हमारा विजय माल्या का केस हुआ था, where he was in the liquor business, he started Kingfisher, right? And because he was so emotionally invested in that business, that when that business started going south, he could not shut that business or say, okay, I made a mistake and take losses and get out of it. He remained emotionally invested with that business. Then exceptional firefighting skills. So there are managements who have displayed exceptional firefighting skills. So one example I can give you here is Nestle. ठीक है, जब वो मैगी का fiasco हुआ था some years back, where that MSG and all that was found in Maggi, they actually took 300 crores worth of Maggi and they actually burnt it, right, in a short span of time. And they came out with these ads and they said that, okay, we made a mistake, and from here hence we are going to make sure that our product is good. And then the whole PR and the way they actually managed that whole thing, Maggi in those 5 or 7 years has become a much stronger brand. Then they should be intellectual fanatics, right? People who know what they are doing, who are intelligent people. And the last point is they should have excellent capital allocation skills, right? So hota kya hai na ki a management makes money very easily, right? Or they feel that making money is easy for them, and they will make a lot of money also for you. What to do with that money is where they screw up, right? And suppose if a management made money, the simplest thing for them to do is to give dividends back to the shareholder. But management se wo hota nahi. They are like that, this is our money. How can we give it back, right? So now what to do with this money? So let's diversify. You know what? Let's start another business. And the moment they do diversification, they have this in their head that, oh, I am so great, you know, I can make money like this, right? वो एक God complexion होता है हर management को. And the moment they go in any other business, they realize that मैंने जितना सोचा था उतना easy नहीं था ये, right? And then they burn their fingers and a lot of losses happen. और वो shareholder का wealth वहाँ पे destroy हो जाता है. Second is वो लोग या तो कुछ acquisition कर लेंगे, ठीक है, बहुत महंगे भाव में, right? Which is again not good. So I am saying that acquisitions are a good thing if the company is buying the right sort of businesses at a right valuation. Third is to do buybacks. I think this is one of the most judicious use of your money. क्या buyback कर लो, share capital या shareholding आपका बढ़ जाएगा हर एक existing shareholder का, and this is the best. But again, at what price are you doing buybacks at is also important. अगर आप बहुत ज़्यादा पैसा देके buyback कर रहे हो तो वो भी अच्छा नहीं है, right? So all of these things are there. And the last thing is that many managements say that we want to remain lean. We do not know what to do with this money. We will give dividends. And when you give a dividend, basically you are taking that cash out of the books. You are taking that cash out of the equity, right? So आपका equity कम हो जाता है ना. Whatever profits you are making, वो equity का base, because it is there, आपका ROE बढ़ जाता है. जब आपका ROE बढ़ जाता है तो in the market everybody feels that this company is a very high ROE, right? then everybody starts liking that business, right? So these are some of the things we want in the management that we don't even look at. Management का past capital allocation track record क्या रहा है, we don't look at, but we should look at. Then I will give you one classic. मुझे ऐसा लगा कि इंडिया में broad daylight में अभी तो चोरी कोई नहीं कर सकता, ठीक है, अब तो पॉसिबल ही नहीं है. And then this case came up where chori happened in broad daylight, right? So this is a company called Havells, which is a good company. They actually went to this Lloyd brand and they said, okay, we want to acquire your brand. And Lloyd was basically an air conditioning brand. And they got the brand. Havells paid them 1,600 crore rupees, right? Now the money came in this company called Leal Electricals, okay? And the deal happened during somewhere around this period in time, okay, 17s, around 2017s, okay. और यहाँ से वो stock price थोड़ा ऊपर गया after the deal, okay, और यहाँ से फिर वो नीचे आना शुरू हुआ और नीचे आते आते it's almost zero now, right? So from almost 250 rupees and then going up to 300 and some rupees, it has come down to 10 rupees. Now what happened with this business? I mean, ऐसा तो क्या हो गया business में कि इतना नुकसान हो गया, right? So again, I found an article. This is 8th May 2019. So Leal Electricals is a company that gave its investors in Porenju lots of losses and learnings. Now Porenju is basically a very successful PMS guy based out of Kerala, right? And he basically invests in small cap companies. Now Porenju, through his fund, almost bought 8% of Leal, right? During this time that I'm talking about. So Leal, as I told you, sold its consumer brand for 1,600 crores. Then fund diversion happened and operational hiccups led to significant erosion in stock price. So whatever the 1,600 crores came, Leal management paid some tax on this, and whatever money was left, right? We thought the company will pay off some loans, okay, and then some cash will remain, and then that will come to the shareholders as dividend. But that never happened. That loan also did not get paid, and all of this money actually was transferred to some sister concern as loans, right? So in broad daylight, Leal में से पैसा promoter के पास चला गया, ठीक है? So investors should never compromise on management quality, and accounting policies are a reflection of promoter intentions. And the sad part is that from 2018, this company has also not filed a return. मतलब इन्होंने annual returns file करना बंद कर दिया, right? So this is chori in broad daylight. So these things also happen. One has to be very, and see, Lloyd was not a small brand. मतलब अच्छा खासा ब्रांड था, उसको 1600 करोड़ रुपया मिला, मतलब उसका मैनेजमेंट इतना चोर कैसे हो सकता है, बट है. एंड दिस इज समथिंग दैट हैपेंड in our lifetimes, in today's day and age where we have such a government which is so strict, तभी भी ये होता है. और सेबी ने कुछ किया ही नहीं इसमें. the shareholders have suffered and they are still suffering. Nothing has happened since then. Then one example I want to give is of these two brothers. Both of them started in 2007 when they separated at almost $50 billion. Today, one guy is worth $90 billion and one guy in 2020, he was declared bankrupt, right? Now, what went wrong here, right? So if you look at Anil Ambani, 3 or 4 things happened with him. Okay, first, this guy is extremely unlucky, right? So one thing we learn is कि अगर stock market में पैसा बनाना है, तो you need to have a little luck first. So he's very unlucky first. Second is, he took a lot of debt. He went into businesses and he took a lot of debt, right? Debt लेके उसने बहुत काम किया. Third, he went into industries that were not good industries. हमारे जो criteria हमने पहले बताए ना, उसमें वो industries में अच्छे industries नहीं थे. Telecom, infra, power, these were never good industries. वो सारे उसमें चला गया, ठीक है?
High capex industries.
High capex industries में गया, जहाँ पे उसको बहुत debt लेना पड़ा, correct? और उस डेट, और फिर जब भी ये बिजनेसेस अच्छा नहीं कर रहे थे तो उसका डेट का बर्डन बढ़ते गया. सो देन व्हाट हैपेंड इज, वो पीरियड में जो अच्छे बिजनेसेस भी उसने लिए थे या किए थे, लाइक देयर वाज वन कंपनी कॉल्ड रिलायंस निपॉन म्यूचुअल फंड व्हिच इज अ गुड कंपनी, करेक्ट, वो सारा उसको बेच देना पड़ा. सो ऑल द गुड एसेट्स आल्सो ही हैड टू सेल बिकॉज ऑफ द डेट्स ऑफ द बैड कंपनीज. और करते 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 ही इज वेयर ही इज टुडे. एंड दिस इज लाइक इन, मतलब दिस इज वन केस which shows that if you associate yourself with a good industry, right, you will end up making money. And if you associate with yourself with a bad industry, take a lot of loans, तो आपका यही हालत होने वाला है. और compared to him, his brother, if you see Mukesh Ambani, he was very focused. उसने वो ऑयल एंड गैस का ही बिजनेस किया, ठीक है, उसमें ही उसका उसने रखा, फिर वो धीमे धीमे रिटेल में आया, फिर धीमे धीमे वो जियो में आया। इवन इन जियो व्हाट ही डिड इज ही टुक द कंपटीशन बाय सरप्राइज, ठीक है, वो पहले जाके उसने वो 4G का लाइसेंस ले लिया सारे सर्कल्स में थ्रू अ डिफरेंट नेम, थ्रू अ डिफरेंट एंटिटी, so that the competition would not come and harass him, वरना competition unnecessary bid high कर देता, उसका cost of acquisition would be very high, but competition को पता ही नहीं चला। और उसके बाद में क्या हुआ कि उसके बाद में क्या हुआ कि उसके बाद में क्या हुआ कि sorry, I lost my train of thought. हाँ, so he acquired the businesses for so he acquired the licenses for a very small sum of money। फिर उसने पूरे इंडिया में वो नेटवर्क डाला, ठीक है, नेटवर्क डालने के बाद उसने बहुत सारा डेट लिया, बट ही देन क्विकली पेड दैट डेट ऑफ, राइट। तो उसने डेट पे करने में भी बहुत घाई रखा, ठीक है, एंड नाउ ही इज इन अ पोजीशन वेयर ही इज बिल्ड अ स्ट्रॉन्ग franchise, he is the network lead, he's paid off the debts, and now he is killing the competition by giving customers cheap, correct। उसने सस्ता सस्ता देके पूरा मार्केट को कैप्चर कर लिया, राइट। सो ऑलमोस्ट आई थिंक ही हैज अ वेरी लार्ज मार्केट शेयर नाउ, करेक्ट। सो ब्रिलियंट गाय, डज थिंग्स द राइट वे, स्लोली करता है, समझ के करता है, बहुत फोकस्ड आदमी है, ठीक है, और ज्यादा डेट बहुत टाइम तक रखने में ही डजंट बिलीव। एंड द लास्ट थिंग इज रिस्क दैट कैन बी मिटिगेटेड। तो हमने जब पहले बात करी थी रिस्क की कि हम रिस्क को कैसे कम करें, रिस्क को कैसे हैंडल करें, सो दीज आर अ फ्यू टिप्स दैट वी कैन डू। हाउ डू वी मिनिमाइज रिस्क। सो फर्स्ट इज यू डाइवर्सिफाई योर पोर्टफोलियो, ठीक है। सो व्हाट आई बिलीव इज इफ यू आर अ डायरेक्ट इन्वेस्टर, हैव एटलीस्ट 7 or 10 stocks in your portfolio, ठीक है। डोंट हैव 20-25, दैट अगेन विल नॉट डू अ लॉट ऑफ गुड। जितना आप डाइल्यूट करोगे उतना रिटर्न भी एवरेज बनेगा, बट बहुत ज्यादा कॉन्सेंट्रेटेड मत रखो, ठीक है। सेकंड इज ऑब्वियसली बाय ग्रेट कंपनीज इन ग्रेट इंडस्ट्रीज, तो इससे आपका रिस्क गेट्स कट बाय अ वेरी लार्ज डिग्री, करेक्ट। थर्ड इज यू गो फॉर गुड मैनेजमेंट दैट आर ऑनेस्ट, केपेबल एंड गुड कैपिटल एलोकेटर्स, तो इसमें आपकी लीड जैसी कंपनीज हट जाएगी, तो वहां पे आपका हो जाता है। फोर्थ इज डोंट ओवरपे, बाय एट फेयर वैल्यूएशंस, ठीक है। तो हम वैल्यूएशन पे भी बात करेंगे कि भाई फेयर वैल्यूएशन क्या होता है। And then the fifth is keep on assessing the business risk, have the ability to exit the moment risk seems unmanageable or too extreme, right। तो हम क्या करते हैं, हर क्वार्टर में वो बिजनेस को स्टडी करते हैं, समझते हैं, रिजल्ट्स आने के बाद मैनेजमेंट की कमेंट्री सुनते हैं कि भाई क्या हो रहा है बिजनेस में, हमने जो सोचा था और अब जो हो रहा है उसमें कुछ ज्यादा चेंज हुआ है क्या। एंड इफ एट एनी पॉइंट वी फील दैट वी मिस्ड सम पॉइंट, ओके, कि ये रिस्क हमने सोचा ही नहीं था, ये हमने किया ही नहीं था, देन वी कट आवर लॉसेज एंड वी गेट आउट ऑफ द बिजनेस, फिर हम उसमें रुकते नहीं, राइट। तो हम कोई दूसरे स्टॉक में पैसा बनाएंगे, हमें इसी में बनाना ऐसा जरूरी नहीं है। सो वन हैज टू हैव अ वेरी अनइमोशनल माइंडसेट, ओके। देन वी टॉक अबाउट फेयर वैल्यूएशंस। सो से मैं आपको अगर एक वुडन बॉक्स दूं जिसके अंदर से 100 रुपए का नोट हर साल निकलने वाला है, हर साल 100 रुपया 100 रुपया, 31 दिसंबर को 100 रुपए का एक नोट निकलेगा, 10 साल के लिए निकलेगा, 1000 रुपया वहां मिल गया आपको, और 10वें साल यू विल गेट 100 रुपीज फॉर दिस बॉक्स। सो दिस बॉक्स विल बेसिकली देन बिकम अ ज्वेलरी बॉक्स, और फिर वो 100 रुपए में आप उसको बेच सकते हो। So all in all, you will get 1100 rupees worth of benefit from this box, right? How much will you pay me for this box? Correct? सतीश सर, आप कितना पैसा देंगे मेरे को ये बॉक्स के लिए?
No idea.
No idea. So चलिए ठीक है, हम थोड़ा आइडिया लेते हैं इसमें। So हम ऐसा कह सकते हैं सेफली कि वैल्यू ऑफ दिस बॉक्स विल बी समवेयर बिटवीन 0 and 1100 rupees. करेक्ट। 0 में मैं आपको नहीं दूंगा बिकॉज यू आर एक्चुअली गेटिंग सम बेनिफिट आउट ऑफ इट। 1100 यू विल नॉट गिव मी बिकॉज बॉस आपको 1100 रुपया तो ऑल इन ऑल मिल ही रहा है वो बॉक्स का ओवर अ पीरियड ऑफ 10 years, तो 1100 तो आप मुझे आज दोगे नहीं। सो वी कैन से द वैल्यू इज एनीवेयर बिटवीन 0 and 1100, करेक्ट। नाउ व्हाट मनी यू विल पे मी इज अ फैक्टर ऑफ व्हाट इज योर रिटर्न एक्सपेक्टेशन, राइट। सो इफ यू से कि अगर आपका रिटर्न एक्सपेक्टेशन 50% है, बराबर है, तो आप मुझे 200 रुपया देना चाहिए। अगर आपका रिटर्न एक्सपेक्टेशन सिर्फ 6% है, तो यू कैन इवन बाय द बॉक्स एट 800 रुपीज, करेक्ट। अगर आपका रिटर्न एक्सपेक्टेशन 0 है, तो आप मुझे 1100 रुपया भी दे सकते हैं, ठीक है। पर होता क्या है इंटरेस्टिंगली कि कभी कभी स्टॉक मार्केट में पीपल पे मोर देन व्हाट द स्टॉक इज वर्थ, they will pay 2100 also for this box, and then they will expect to make a profit, and then they don't, and they say कि अरे हमारा कभी स्टॉक मार्केट में पैसा ही नहीं बनता, राइट? अगर 2100 रुपीज सतीश सर मुझे दे दे ये स्टॉक का, तो उनको -10% का केगर होगा, ठीक है? फिर सतीश सर बोलेंगे अरे यार क्या इन्वेस्टमेंट में यार हमारा पैसा ही नहीं बनता, राइट? सो व्हाट वी हैव टू अंडरस्टैंड हियर इज that like these cash flows that are there, businesses also have cash flows that you can forecast for the next say 10 years or 20 years, right? हम अगर एशियन पेंट्स की बात करें तो suppose Asian Paints is today doing 30,000 crores of 30,000 crores of sales, right? On that say it is doing a 10% PAT, right? So we know how much will be the profit on that company. उसमें हम हमारा जो cash flows है वो हम उसमें से हटा दे कि हमारा केपेक्स का क्या रिक्वायरमेंट है वो हटा दे, हमारा वर्किंग कैपिटल का क्या है वो हटा दे, देन वी व्हाट वी गेट इज अ कैश फ्लो ऑफ द बिजनेस. और हम 10 साल का कैश फ्लो ले ले और वो बिजनेस को एक टर्मिनल वैल्यू दे दे, राइट? उसका जो 10th ईयर का जो भी कैश फ्लो होगा उसके ऊपर से बाय अप्लाइंग द गॉर्डन्स फॉर्मूला व्हिच इज व्हाट आई हैव गिवन ऑन द स्क्रीन, तो हमको उसका टर्मिनल वैल्यू मिल जाता है. और जब आप ये सारा इकट्ठा करेंगे तो बेसिकली यू गेट व्हाट इज कॉल्ड द इंट्रिंसिक वैल्यू ऑफ द बिजनेस, राइट? So, or what we call the discounted cash flow value of the business. So this is the very basic way of valuing a business. कभी कभी क्या होता है इंट्रिंसिक वैल्यू की ऊपर होती है कंपनी तो वी से इट इज एक्सपेंसिव, इंट्रिंसिक के नीचे होती है तो वी से इट इज चीप, राइट? बट इंट्रिंसिक वैल्यू इज अगेन नॉट द ओनली वे टू वैल्यू अ बिजनेस. जैसे अगर आप कोई बैंकिंग स्टॉक खरीदते हैं तो यू विल हैव टू जज ऑन द बेसिस ऑफ प्राइस टू बुक, करेक्ट? जैसे अगर HDFC बैंक है तो आप बोलेंगे कि मे बी 2.5 टाइम्स बुक पे इट इज चीप, मे बी 3.5-4 टाइम्स पे इट इज एक्सपेंसिव, राइट? तो एक वहां पे आपका वैल्यूएशन आप कर सकते हो. तीसरा, इफ यू आर बाइंग अ बिजनेस दैट हैज वेरी हाई मार्जिन्स देन यू कैन बाय इट ऑन अ प्राइस टू सेल्स ऑल्सो. जैसे अगर आपको एशियन पेंट्स बाय करना, आप इंट्रिंसिक वैल्यू में बाय करने जाओगे आप कभी बाय नहीं कर पाओगे, वो हमेशा आपको महंगा ही लगेगा. सो देयर यू कैन से कि एट 5 टाइम्स सेल्स और 4 टाइम्स सेल्स इट इज अ डिसेंट वैल्यू. Probably at 7, 8 or 10 times sales, it is expensive. And the businesses that are doing very low margins और जो बहुत कम margins कर रहे हैं और जो बहुत कम profits कर रहे हैं, that you will always like to value on price to earnings, ठीक है ना? So हम ये सारा भी use करते हैं, कभी थोड़ा ये कभी थोड़ा वो करके we actually say that we will value a business, and valuation they say is more than a science, it is an art, ठीक है ना? And आप जितना ज्यादा उसको करते जाते हो उतना ज्यादा you get better at it, ठीक है? So the lesson we learn from this piece is that have an investment philosophy. First rule is don't lose money. Second rule is never forget rule number 1, buy at fair valuations. And lastly, don't copy others, ठीक है? Then what vested interests of various organizations will not tell you about investing, ठीक है? So things to keep in mind. Brokers, तो हम ब्रोकर्स की अगर बात करें तो आप जितना ज्यादा ट्रेडिंग करेंगे उतना ज्यादा ब्रोकर्स को प्रॉफिट होगा, ठीक है? तो खुद के कॉस्ट पे उनका प्रॉफिट ना बढ़ाए, दैट इज द फर्स्ट एडवाइस आई विल गिव यू ऑल. सेकेंडली, sometimes these brokerage houses also give these reports. Okay, these reports need to be taken with a pinch of salt, right? At any given point in time, two brokerages will have completely different views on a particular stock. एक बोलेगा 500 का 100 हो जाएगा, दूसरा बोलेगा 500 का 1000 हो जाएगा, right? And if you read both the reports, they will kind of justify also these reports, correct? So these opinions of these reports need to be taken with a pinch of salt. Yes, these reports are very good as far as data collection or data points are concerned. You can use the data points, but leave the opinion part and opinion खुद का बनाओ. Second is mutual funds. So out of the 289 actively managed mutual fund schemes that have been going on since the last 5 years, only 34 schemes have beaten the benchmark index by more than 200 basis points. So this is just 12%. ठीक है? तो मैं जैसे म्यूचुअल फंड एक्टिवली, हम सतीश जी पहले भी बात कर रहे थे कि म्यूचुअल फंड में सिर्फ 12% स्कीम्स ऐसी है जिन्होंने एक्चुअली बेंचमार्क को बीट किया. तो इतना रिस्क लेने के बाद, इतना फीस देने के बाद, अगर सिर्फ 12% ही म्यूचुअल फंड्स आपको बेंचमार्क बीट करने में हेल्प करेंगे, देन वन शुड एक्चुअली सिट एंड थिंक. एंड समटाइम्स व्हाट हैपेंस इज म्यूचुअल फंड इन्वेस्टर्स दे थिंक कि हम ऐसा कोई फंड जिसने पास्ट में अच्छा किया है उसी को देखकर ये फ्यूचर में भी अच्छा ही करेगा तो जरूरी नहीं है। जो फंड्स है लास्ट 10 साल में बहुत अच्छा किया है, probably in the next 10 years they may not do so well, right? So one has to see what kind of stocks they are holding, what market price are you buying at. If the markets are generally very expensive and if you are buying at that point in time, तो भी return नहीं बनने वाला। The other thing with mutual funds is that if you look at most actively managed mutual funds, they will have anywhere between 50 and 60 stocks in their portfolio. Now when your portfolio is so diluted, it again becomes very difficult to beat the benchmark, because निफ्टी में अगर 50 है और अगर आपका कोई भी और पोर्टफोलियो में 50 है उसके आसपास होगा, तो बाय द लॉ ऑफ लार्ज नंबर्स यू विल मेक द सेम काइंड ऑफ रिटर्न्स, राइट? या उसे खराब भी बनेगा, बट जरूरी नहीं है कि उसे अच्छा भी बने, राइट? सो दिस इज समथिंग दैट यू नीड टू कीप इन माइंड. And then you have the portfolio managers or the advisors. So what is the industry practice generally is that these portfolio managers and advisors, they have a model portfolio, so to say. तो हम क्या करते हैं कि हमने समझो आज एशियन पेंट सस्ता है, हमने अपने पोर्टफोलियो में ऐड कर लिया, फिर 6 महीने बाद एचडीएफसी बैंक सस्ता हो गया, वो ऐड कर लिया, एंड ओवर अ पीरियड ऑफ 2-3 years we built a portfolio. Now when you look at the returns of these portfolios, they look very good. Okay, we have done a 30% CAGR, we have done a 40% CAGR. But when a customer comes to us, when he gives the money to us, we will say, okay, you copy this model portfolio, और वही दिन सारा हम प्राइस को कंसिडरेशन देंगे ही नहीं, हम पूरा वो उसको लेने के लिए बोल देंगे, right? So this is something that has been happening in the portfolio management advisory space, where a model portfolio approach is being followed. Now say Satish ji will come and Satish ji will say कि साहिल भाई हमारा पैसा है, आप लगा दो, आपका तो 30% 40% केगर है, हमारा भी बन जाएगा, ये लो 10 लाख रुपए या ये लो 50 लाख रुपए। हम बोले लाओ सर, ठीक है 50 लाख का हमने कल 10 स्टॉक हमारे मॉडल पोर्टफोलियो में डर डर हमने ले लिया, सतीश जी का आ गया, सतीश जी वेरी हैप्पी, चलो ठीक है अभी हमारा 40% केगर बन जाएगा। देन 5 years गो बाय, ठीक है, देन मैं मेरे फंड का मॉडल पोर्टफोलियो का रिटर्न बताता हूँ, दैट इज स्टिल डूइंग 35 और 42%। और सतीश जी जब अपना रिटर्न देखते हैं रियल, तो सतीश जी बोलते हैं यार मेरा तो 12% बना, मेरा तो 15% बना, साहिल जी आप तो कुछ बताते हैं और हमारा तो कुछ बन रहा है। So that is exactly what is happening in the model portfolio management industry, के हाथी के दांत दिखाने के कुछ और खाने के कुछ और. So one has to be aware of this thing. But then there are many portfolio managers who also give price a consideration, जो blindly model portfolio नहीं follow करते. जैसे हम लोग blindly model, हमारा कोई model portfolio है ही नहीं. What we do is basically at any given point in time, whenever a customer comes to us, at that point in time, whatever is the most relevant stock at the most relevant price, we will buy that, rather than blindly following a model portfolio thing. There are very few like us, but there are, right? But majority of them do model portfolio, and if somebody is trying to sell you a model portfolio, be very aware. Returns will definitely be different over a 3, 4, 5 year period. And then ये बॉम्बे में हमारा बहुत चला भी टेलीग्राम इन्वेस्टिंग, आई डोंट नो दिल्ली में क्या है, पर टेलीग्राम करके देयर इज अ मैसेंजर, उस पे बड़े बड़े ग्रुप्स होते हैं, 2,000 10,000 लोगों के, और फिर एक बंदा आके उसमें मैसेज डालता है और लोग खरीद लेते हैं। वो लोग ऊपर में सारा पंप करके पहले डंप करके चले जाते हैं, और फिर रिटेल इन्वेस्टर अपना स्टॉक पकड़ के बेचारा खड़े रहता है, एंड दे हैव नो एस्केप, right? So don't fall prey to all of these things. Anything that
I think what they do is there are 1,000 users in the Telegram group, and they keep on sending messages. मेरा आज जितना बना, मेरा आज उतना बना.
Correct.
I gained this much. And what I do is just keep out of the, मतलब मैं उसको ब्लॉक मारता हूँ और came out of that group.
Correct. वो करना बहुत जरूरी है. आप अगर ट्विटर पे भी देखोगे तो लोग कुछ भी स्क्रीनशॉट अपना ट्रेडिंग का, मैं इतना ट्रेडिंग करता हूँ, मेरा देखो इतना प्रॉफिट बन गया, वो सब फोटोशॉप होता है, ठीक है. Nobody makes that kind of money. So always take all these things with a pinch of salt, and anything that is not authorized by SEBI, if some person is not authorized by SEBI to give investment advice, don't take investment advice from him. भैया SEBI का अगर आप पूरा देखोगे, या PMS होल्डर और इन्वेस्टमेंट एडवाइजर होल्डर, the amount of grilling that happens to give that license, we only know, ठीक है. तो they really look at your background, where you have worked, they will ask you 50 questions, they will want you to clear certain exams, ठीक है. वो सारा करने के बाद आपका एक्सपीरियंस देखेंगे, सारा देखेंगे, उसके बाद they will give you a license, करेक्ट. वो लाइसेंस देने के बाद आपके कितने कस्टमर्स है, उनका क्या रिटर्न बन रहा है, आपको सारा वहां पे रिपोर्ट करना पड़ेगा, राइट. एंड व्हेन यू डू ऑल दिस रिपोर्टिंग, मतलब कितना रिटर्न बनेगा शायद आपको नहीं बताना पड़ेगा, बट व्हाट आई एम ट्राइंग टू से आपके कितने कस्टमर्स हैं, आपका कितना ईयूएम है, आपका पेमेंट उनसे कैसे आ रहा है, आप उनसे ज्यादा तो चार्ज नहीं कर रहे हो, ये सारा वो लोग चेक करते हैं. एंड द मोमेंट यू आर caught anywhere doing anything that is not as per the law, they will cancel your license, they will debar you from the market for 2 years or 5 years, right? And nobody who has a SEBI license, who has the reputation, would do anything to jeopardize that. So always go for somebody who is SEBI authorized. So buyer has to be aware. And then the last point I want to cover is why behavioral finance is the most important in investment success, right? So what makes an investor great? तो देखो research अच्छा कोई भी कर लेगा, ठीक है, अच्छी कंपनी कोई भी बता देगा, but when these good companies come to an investor, they come with a lot of negativity, a lot of negative news, ठीक है, और उसमें फिर जो great investor है वो उसको उठा पाता है, और जो बंदा बहुत ज्यादा great investor नहीं है, जो बहुत easily psychologically influence हो जाता है, वो बंदा उसको नहीं पकड़ पाता, ठीक है, वो डर जाता है, ठीक है. सो यू हैव टू हैव द एबिलिटी टू फोकस एंड कट आउट नॉइज. तो मेरे को याद है कोरोना के टाइम पे मेरा पूरा बिल्डिंग, मैं जो सोसाइटी में रहता हूँ उसमें एवरीबडी वाज बाइंग क्रिप्टो करेंसी एंड दे वर मेकिंग अ लॉट ऑफ मनी, राइट. बट आई सेड आई अंडरस्टूड क्रिप्टो, आई सेड फॉर 2 days मैंने समझा, मैंने कहा यार दिस इज नॉट गुड. मैं बोला दिस इज नॉट सॉल्विंग अ पर्पस, इसमें बहुत वॉलेटिलिटी है, दीज आर अर्ली डेज. आई सेड यार इसमें पैसा डाल के इट इज अ वेरी बिग रिस्क. बट पीपल सेड अभी ऊपर जा रहा है तो डाल दो, मोमेंटम में खेल लो, पैसा बन जाएगा. And I know people in my society, they have put 50 lakhs also. There is one guy I know who's put 50 lakhs. आज उसका portfolio is I think around 13, 14, 15 lakh rupees. ठीक है, और आए दिन कुछ ना कुछ आते रहता है क्रिप्टो करेंसी में. अभी भी आपने देखा यूएस में FTX का कितना बड़ा स्कैम आ गया बाहर, राइट. So why do you want to be invested in something that is so volatile, right? But people don't understand. उनको बस लालच है, कर लेते हैं. तो as an investor,
and people made money also in crypto.
People made money, but sir, if you really ask them, right, the people who made money, they will take the money and they will again go and they will again invest in crypto at
Yes.
some, I am saying at some point, no, वो positive और negative है ना, वो zero ही होने वाला है. It's a zero sum game. You have to understand that.
Yes, that's true.
Right, that one has to understand. So as an investor, we also get a lot of opportunities, right? हमको अभी कोई बोल देगा कि boss, the money is on the table, आप ये कंपनी का ले लो, इसमें पैसा बन ही जाएगा, right? But we don't do that because we say कि यार we want to be focused on what we are doing. We don't want to take shortcuts. We don't want to एक बार हम वो पैसा का आदत लगा लेंगे ना, तो we want to do that only. कि हमको insider information बता दो, हमको ये बता दो, हमको वो बता दो. We don't want to do that. Right? That is very important. And there are investors out there who are doing all of these things. They are making a lot of money also. But then they are also losing their ability to focus. Then there is the ability to sit on cash. कभी कभी क्या होता है कि इन्वेस्टर्स, जैसे मैंने मेरा एग्जांपल दिया कि द मोमेंट आई स्टार्टेड सेविंग, आई हैड दिस अर्ज टू इन्वेस्ट समवेयर, राइट. एंड समटाइम्स इन्वेस्टर्स कांट वेट फॉर द राइट अपॉर्चुनिटी. देयर आर मेनी पीपल हु कम टू मी, दे कमिट सम फंड्स एंड दे से सर अभी आपने तो 2 महीना हो गया, आपने तो कुछ किया ही नहीं है. बट आई से बॉस, देयर इज नो there is no place I can put your money. Everything is like super expensive. We have to wait, right? But they are like, nahi sir, aap kuch lo. Then I say, yeah, you take your money back. I can't work like this, correct? So if the person doesn't have the ability to sit on cash, he's not going to make money. Then the ability to hold on to winners, right? So ये भी केस होता है कि there are investors who identify good stocks, who buy at good price. But जब वो थोड़ा चलने लगता है स्टॉक, समझो 50 रुपए का लिया और वो 500 रुपया हो गया, they feel okay, we have made a lot of money, बेच के अपना प्रॉफिट बुक करो, right? But to tell you the fact of the matter is कि where I worked before the M3 investment, मैंने वहाँ पे ज्वाइन किया 2012-13 में, और 2008 में they got to purchase a lot of things, ठीक है. उसमें मेरे जो CIO थे वो हमेशा मेरे को एक स्टोरी बताते रहते थे कि हमने एक कंपनी बाय किया, पेज इंडस्ट्री, जो जॉकी के ये अंडरगारमेंट्स बनाता है, पेज इंडस्ट्रीज लिमिटेड, and they got a Page Industries for almost 300 rupees. This is 2006-2008 periods में उन्होंने लिया था ये 300 rupees में. फिर वो थोड़े टाइम उनके पास था, वो हो गया 3000 रुपया. They felt कि oh my god, this company is now from 300 rupees, it has gone to 3000 rupees. They invested 5 crores. That 5 crores became 50 crores. They were very happy. They said, okay, a lot of money has been made. It is very expensively valued. It is almost at 90-100 P. This is crazy, let's sell it. They sold and they got that 50 crore, right? Then they had a company called PNG Hygiene, which made the sanitary pads. They again bought for what 5 crores. That again became 50 crores. They sold it. Okay. If they would have had kept these two stocks in their portfolio, there was nothing wrong with the companies, right? There was huge size of opportunity. The P was expensive, but these were good businesses and they did not have any good alternatives. इससे अच्छा business तभी available नहीं था, right? अगर इसको hold करके रखते, that 3,000 has become then 30,000, तो वो 550 करोड़ का 500 करोड़ हुआ, and that page industry today is at 46,000 rupees a share, right? So if they would have not taken those two decisions, they would have maybe उनका 1200-1500 करोड़ का fund would have been around 3 or 3,500 crores. So he says that is a very big mistake we made by selling our winners, right? And if you look at even Warren Buffett, he holds companies for very long period of time. Coca-Cola अगर आप देख लो उन्होंने बहुत लंबा टाइम रखा. If you look at Apple, he's made so much profit with Apple, but he's not willing to sell those shares, right? So Warren Buffett also, if he identifies that this company is good, this company has a longevity of 10-20 years, even if I've made a lot of money, I will make more money. I need to hold on to my winners, right? So what I want to tell you all is very simple. If you are in a Vande Bharat Express or a Rajdhani Express, right, and your train is going at a certain speed, right, don't get off at one station. You have started from Bombay, you want to go to Delhi. Don't get off at Surat. Okay, because maybe another Rajdhani or Vande Bharat may not be coming your way, right? So think like that. Always be invested. And I think the better thing to do is you jump trains. आप ट्रेन में से कभी उतरो मत. अगर आप वंदे भारत में जा रहे हो, बाजू में से अगर तेजस एक्सप्रेस आपको लगता है ये ज्यादा स्पीड में चलने वाली है, तो आप वंदे भारत से तेजस में चले जाओ, बराबर है? So that your money doesn't come in cash and then you don't lose the opportunity, right? तो आप हमेशा एक अपॉर्चुनिटी से बेटर अपॉर्चुनिटी पे शिफ्ट होंगे rather than to just sit on cash. हाँ, अगर बिजनेस में कोई प्रॉब्लम हो जाता है तो there is no question. But if there is no problem with the business, there is no problem with the promoter, then you should hold on to your winners. So this is one very important lesson I have learned. Then you should have the ability to suffer. इसके लिए मैं आपको एक चार्ट बताऊंगा आगे कि what is the ability to suffer. Then the ability to go against the tide. Okay. So बहुत बार क्या होता है कि और most of the times, जैसे मैंने आपको DVs का example बताया, a lot of negativity came with the stock. We actually went against the crowd and we bought. When we bought Bajaj Finance, people said you all are mad people. You are buying a leveraged business in a unsecured lending who doesn't have a prospect of 2 years of growth or profits. How can you buy this company, right? But we saw that, okay, fine, we may not make money for 2 years, but then we will make money in the next 10 years. It's okay. We bought the business. So we went against the tide. So this is the ability to suffer. So Rakesh Jhunjhunwala, okay, you know what the greatness of the man is that he never sold Titan. Today his family holds around 7% of Titan, right? And what you see in this chart is basically whenever the stock price is corrected by more than 20% or more, that period we have marked in blue. Okay. So here you can see Titan in its journey of the last 20 years has actually gone down by more than 24 times, down by more than 20%, right? Now to actually hold on to that stock through all of these turbulences, right, then only you can create that massive wealth, right? So this is the greatness of Rakesh Jhunjhunwala, that he has been able to hold on to this stock for long periods of time. वरना ये पीरियड था ना जब ये तो हमारे अभी थोड़े टाइम पहले हुआ, जब 2000 से 900 रुपया हो गया स्टॉक, वो डरे नहीं, उन्होंने बोला कि नहीं कुछ नहीं, वी विल होल्ड, वो बढ़ेगा, वो होगा अपना, और वो वापस आ गया अपनी जगह. So again, what Charlie Munger says, it takes a lot of characters to sit with all that cash and do nothing. I didn't get to where I am by going after mediocre opportunities. So आप ऐसा सोचो, if I have to give you an example, कि आपका portfolio is the Indian cricket team, right? You have to select the best 11 players in your team. Okay, आपको कोहली, धोनी, सचिन, ये सब players चाहिए, ठीक है ना? Anything who is not them, you don't take in your portfolio. If you invest in that fashion, what will happen is over your lifetime, you will actually buy good stocks, you will hold on to good stocks, और naturally आप देखोगे कि आपका रिटर्न अच्छा बनेगा. सी इट इज वेरी सिंपल। नो, मेरी मम्मी हमेशा कहती है आप जैसी संगत में बैठोगे वैसे आप बन जाओगे। आप जैसे स्टॉक्स खरीदोगे, जो अच्छी इंडस्ट्री के स्टॉक्स खरीदोगे, ठीक है, तो आपका रिटर्न अच्छा ही बनने वाला है। अगर आप घटिया इंडस्ट्री के स्टॉक्स खरीदोगे तो आपका रिटर्न घटिया ही बनने वाला है, ठीक है ना। मुझे लोग फोन करते हैं, सर वोडाफोन 10 रुपए का हो गया, ले लेके आए, इसमें तो थोड़ा आपको लगता है बन जाएगा, थोड़ा डबल हो जाएगा पैसा। ऐसे यार, वाई वांट टू बाय वोडाफोन जस्ट बिकॉज इट इज 10 रुपीज। यार वो बिजनेस तो देखो, उसका डेट तो देखो, उसका देखो कितना बकवास बिजनेस है वो। Why you want to associate yourself with that business? Stay away from that business. And they say, yeah, okay, ठीक है, right? So being rational pays big time, right? So the action points. So I complete my seminar here today. So the action points is first, find out your personal asset allocation. This is very important. Second, calculate your CAGR and how you have done versus the benchmark. Okay. And third is get your equity portfolio reviewed. So if you are holding an equity portfolio, राइट, अगर आपको पता नहीं है क्या हो रहा है ना, तो कोई प्रोफेशनल के पास जाओ, उसको बताओ कि यार मेरा ये पोर्टफोलियो, इसमें क्या अच्छा है क्या अच्छा नहीं है, राइट। वरना क्या होगा कि आप वही बैड स्टॉक्स में फंसे रह जाओगे, बैड म्यूचुअल फंड्स में फंसे रह जाओगे, आपका रिटर्न नहीं बनेगा। सो हम क्या करते हैं ना, एज चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट्स ऑल्सो, what we feel is कि we are professionals, people should come and ask us, and people do genuinely come and ask us कि सर वो कुछ भी करेगा, वो एक पेन उठा के यहाँ से वहां रखना होगा तो भी वो सीए को फोन करेगा, सर ये मैं कर रहा हूँ, ये मैं करूँ, ये ठीक होगा? सीए बोलेगा हाँ कर लो, ठीक है, राइट। एंड वी आर चार्जिंग मनी फॉर दैट, बट व्हेन इट कम्स टू इन्वेस्ट, टू मैनेजिंग आवर ओन मनी, यू नो, चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट्स दे डोंट वांट टू पे मनी टू अ प्रोफेशनल, राइट। एक प्रोफेशनल को दो ना थोड़ा पैसा, वो थोड़ा आपको हेल्प भी करेगा। सो दिस इज समथिंग दैट आई फील ये इंडस्ट्री में नहीं हो रहा है। दिस इज अ वेरी बिग मिस दैट इज देयर। ठीक है, with this I conclude my presentation. Thank you all for listening, and if you all have any questions or anything, then we can take those, and then I can, in the very end, I like to talk a little bit about myself and my company, if obviously with the permission of Satish ji.
No, so Sahil, I'm so sorry. I am not. I mean, I'm not the authority to give you permission, but
Okay.
Because this seminar or webinar is being conducted under the banner of ICI North India Regional Council.
No, sir, no.
And you are aware that we cannot.
No. I get it, sir. You don't need to explain. You don't
Yeah.
need to explain. It is okay. I understand. So we will call it a day here. We will open for question and answers, but हम question and answers लेंगे definitely.
If members do have questions, I don't know. This is the first time I've clapped on any of the webinar.
Thank you so much, sir. That means a lot to me.
It was a very, very wonderful webinar which you have deliberated on. Various business models, various company strategies you have discussed, and you have given so much to us. And one thing I would that messages are also coming brilliant, lot of new ideas, must say. And okay, PPT you have answered that will share.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So one thing I would say that this one of the panelists with us is Vikas Gupta. He's just left. When he was with me actually before we were to start, he's just next door to my office.
Okay.
And I just asked him, would you be available as a panelist, because I know he's investing in mutual fund and all. So he said, I can stay there for maybe 45 minutes to max 1 hour because there is a meeting and I'm to rush there. And he was, I was kept on checking that whether he's gone or is here. He just left 2 minutes back.
Okay,
so that kind of you retained him, and we were having lots of members with us who were there throughout, and they started leaving the webinar now. So it was really wonderful webinar. You deliberated so well. I don't invest in mutual fund, and somebody who asked me or who suggests me, I have a very good chartered accountant friends. Number of friends are there. Even if somebody suggests, I say no, I'm not interested in mutual fund. Some of my friends, if they suggest me, I don't say yes. So, but yes, it was very interestedly. I mean, I also listened carefully, and there were so many points I've taken. And yes, definitely, I would like to say, to all the members, including myself, which Vande Bharat train you are traveling to or planning to travel. So with these words, I really thank all the members who were there, who participated with us. Sahil also, including all those two panelists, will Deepti and all, Vikas ji, and all those who will be listening to this or watching this webinar through recordings over YouTube. Thank you very much. And I would look forward, as you also suggested, that whenever you are traveling to Delhi, do give me your plans and we'll manage a physical seminar here in Delhi. So
we'll love to, sir. Definitely.
Yeah. Thank you very much. And we'll be in touch.
Yes, sir. So we are taking questions. We are taking questions now.
I don't think members have questions. You have deliberately, I mean, you have wonderfully deliberated. अगर questions होते तब तक आ जाते.
ठीक है, चलो, great.
And still, if members have question, I don't mind extending this webinar for another 10 minutes. No issues. Generally, Shastrinagar Study Circle के लिए कहा जाता है physical as well as webinar, that we, our members, do have lots of questions. But today hardly any question. One एक message आया, देखते हैं.
हाँ, एक 37 स्लाइड पे कुछ है. आई थिंक मैंने 12% लिया होगा. मैं कुछ जाके देखना पड़ेगा.
एक क्वेश्चन बहुत, जब आप 40th स्लाइड पे थे तब से आ रहा था एक क्वेश्चन. सुरजीत सिंह का एक क्वेश्चन रेज किया था. सुरजीत जी, अभी दोबारा से बता दो क्या क्वेश्चन था.
आई थिंक 12% लिया होगा, बट आई नीड टू स्टिल चेक. मेरे ख्याल से 12 या 15 लिया होगा.
चेक कर लो अगर पॉसिबल है.
एक सेकंड.
अधीर कपूर का था 37 स्लाइड्स का. और सुरजीत जी आपका ओके, अगर आपने दे दिया. एनी टिप फॉर रेगुलर इनकम इन शेयर. वो टिप तो बात ही नहीं कर रहे हैं सर.
नहीं, वो हम देते भी नहीं.
आपने स्टार्टिंग से अगर सुना होगा, मैं बीच में शुरू में मेरा आधा घंटा जरूर मैनेज करने में रहा और कुछ शोर बहुत था, तो मेरा स्टार्टिंग का हाफ एन आवर आई कुडंट लिसन प्रॉपर्ली. पर इतना मुझे पता चल गया था कि वो टिप वाली बात नहीं है. ओनली आपका बिल्कुल रिसर्च वाले वर्क के साथ है, पीएमएसएस सर्विसेज.
करेक्ट.
एंड सेबी रजिस्टर्ड, वो आई एम फॉरगेटिंग द नेम, क्या नाम होता है उनका जो कोर्स करते हैं, और उसका
इट्स कॉल्ड रजिस्टर्ड इन्वेस्टमेंट एडवाइजर्स.
और भी कुछ एक नाम होता है. आई हैव वन ऑफ माय फ्रेंड हु डिड दिस. मैं लेकिन नाम
इक्विटी रिसर्च.
पीएमएस आई नो. एंड सेबी के साथ रजिस्टर्ड होते हैं जो फंड मैनेज करते हैं. चलिए कोई बात नहीं, मैं उसी से पूछ लूंगा, क्या मैं भूल रहा हूँ अभी. So very good session. If possible, please do share the presentation, which is already answered that PPT will be shared, and recordings. अभी हमने परसों जो जगजीत के साथ प्रोग्राम किया था, उसकी रिकॉर्डिंग मेरे पास नहीं अवेलेबल है. रिकॉर्डिंग चलती रही, लेकिन फाइनली जब वो सेव हुआ तो रिकॉर्डिंग सिर्फ 3 मिनट्स की थी. अल्टरनेट इन्वेस्टमेंट फंड उन्होंने पूछा था सुरजीत सिंह जी ने.
ऑल्टरनेट इन्वेस्टमेंट फंड्स, सर वही बात है कि उसमें होता क्या है कि वो एक बहुत स्पेसिफिक पर्पस के लिए होता है. ठीक है ना, मतलब एक बहुत स्पेसिफिक इन्वेस्टमेंट कैटेगरी के लिए होता है. या तो वो रियल एस्टेट होगा या और कुछ होगा, ठीक है, या स्टार्टअप के लिए होगा. तो अगेन उसमें क्या होता है कि रिटेल इन्वेस्टर उसमें इन्वेस्ट करके बहुत ज्यादा कॉन्सेंट्रेट हो जाएगा. ठीक है, डाइवर्सिफिकेशन नहीं रहेगा. समझो अगर वहां पे कुछ गड़बड़ हो गया तो उसका पैसा डूब सकता है. और उसमें जो मिनिमम कैपिटल रिक्वायर्ड भी है वो भी बड़ा है. उसमें एटलीस्ट आई थिंक 25 lakhs है, और फिर एक में तो यू हैव टू गिव इन सम करोड़. तो उसमें भी वो रिटेल इन्वेस्टर वहां पे इतना इजीली एक्सेस नहीं कर पाएगा.
ओके, एक Q&A में क्वेश्चन आया, क्योंकि DHFL की कल परसों कुछ न्यूज थी. व्हाट हैज हैपेंड? उनकी कुछ शेल कंपनी की न्यूज थी. DHFL.
Yes, I have not seen.
Okay. Yesterday, I think I've seen DHFL had 87 shell companies like that.
87 shell. No, so इस पे मैं खाली इतना ही बताऊंगा कि what happens is, as investors know, we do a lot of research on management also. और अगर आप कोई भी कंपनी के मैनेजमेंट के बारे में आपको जानना है ना, तो आप जाके उसके एम्प्लॉयज को मिलो, ठीक है, वो आपको इनफॉर्मली इतना सारा बता देंगे. सो आई नो कि येस बैंक का जो पूरा फिएस्को हुआ, ठीक है, येस बैंक में people, the circles always knew that there is some dealing that always keeps going on. आप समझ रहे मेरी बात कि there is some under the table is always given to the management. That was always a thing, right? So if somebody in the investment circle tells you this, in the banking circles tell you this, then one becomes a little aware, stays away from that business. Similarly क्या होता है ना कि कोई एक कंपनी या एक ऐसा ग्रुप है जो बहुत ज्यादा कोई पॉलिटिकल पार्टी के साथ भी कनेक्टेड है, ठीक है, तो देन यू फील कि उससे थोड़ा दूर रहना अच्छा है. अगेन क्यों? क्योंकि अगर कल को कुछ आगे पीछे हुआ तो देन यू स्टैंड टू लूज अ लॉट ऑफ मनी. तो मैं ऐसा बोल रहा हूँ कि ये जो चीज है ना, जहाँ पे प्रमोटर का थोड़ा प्रॉब्लम है, आइदर दे आर बैड प्रैक्टिसेस और दे आर affiliations with certain people or certain political parties, then one has to be little careful in that scenario.
ये इसमें इन्होंने आया है अल्टरनेट एफ कैट अल्टरनेट इन्वेस्टमेंट फंड will pay out is tax free as there is no pass through. Please confirm and comment.
तो ये मेरे को देखना पड़ेगा सर. आई ऑल्सो एम हियरिंग दिस फॉर द फर्स्ट टाइम.
AIF CAT वो मेरे को लगता है अल्टरनेट इन्वेस्टमेंट फंड. CAT का मतलब नहीं पता.
ठीक है, चलो मैं एक काम करता हूँ. आई विल वो दोनों क्वेश्चन जो स्लाइड नंबर था आपका 37 और ये मैं दोनों सतीश जी को भेज दूंगा, जो उसका आंसर एक अच्छा सा बना के, देन यू कैन जस्ट फॉरवर्ड इन द ग्रुप. जिसका होगा वो हो जाएगा.
ठीक है. तो स्पेसिफिक जिसका क्वेश्चन था वो मेरे से
ये कैटेगरी
मेरे से ले लें व्हाट्सएप पे. ठीक है सर. सो लेट्स फिनिश एंड वंस अगेन
मैं आपको ये प्रेजेंटेशन भेज दूंगा. आई जस्ट सेंड दिस प्रेजेंटेशन टू यू,
right,
obviously without any of my company's details, right?
Sure,
you can share it with your people. Okay?
right. So I once again thank Sahil and all the participants. Let's end this seminar webinar for now, and hopefully recordings will be shared to you and PPT will also be shared.
Yes. And Satish ji, thank you so much for organizing this and having me. You are a wonderful host.
Thank you sir. Thank you.
Okay. Nice meeting you. Bye sir. Bye everybody. Take care.